I'm not actually ready to do this intro, but there are cats screaming outside, and I wanted you to maybe hear it. So, hopefully they'll start screaming again. I forgot to intro the guest, so I'm doing it now. Our guest was Michael Isaac Stein. He's an investigative journalist in New Orleans, working for a couple of local institutions, The Lens and WWNO. He's got some bylines in... Well, that wasn't the sound I was hoping for, but it's something. Bylines in New Republic, The Intercept, all kind of cool stuff. So, yeah, we talked about some of the stories he's been covering, including the absolutely bonkers surveillance state in New Orleans. So I'll just let you get right into it. Here comes the music.
How do I sound? All right?
Yeah, that is perfect.
Cool.
It's been a... You've done this shit before, right?
Yeah, well, I've been working at WWNO for the past, 2 months.
Yeah.
So I'm learning the ropes.
Yeah. So what kind of hours are you working right now?
It depends on the day. I mean, last week was a fucking crazy news week.
Uh-huh.
City council and the mayor are beefing, and the legislature's on, and just a lot happened. So last week I worked I don't know, probably 60 hours. But I take it easy other times. Yeah, but I just split my time between the two right now, kind of evenly.
The two meaning WWNO and The Lens?
Yeah, so I think it's neither had the money to fully pay me, so
right.
they split it up, and then I kind of try to work on the same stories for both, and then do a radio version and a written version, which is
it's like teaching two of the same class instead of teaching two different classes.
Right, but it's they're super different because if you've ever read The Lens, narrative is not really highly valued. So it's all about here are the facts, and if you want to know them, read through the whole thing. And then the radio, it's there's only, you can really only put one statistic in a radio story because if you put too many numbers, it just doesn't mean anything.
Right.
So it's going from a very narrative based thing to a very fact based thing. So it's challenging that way sometimes. Also, going up to someone with a microphone is super new to me, and I don't know how to
Yeah,
that's definitely a skill.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, how do you get someone to open up? I still don't know. I'm wearing headphones, right? And I'm holding a microphone. I certainly wouldn't open up to that. So that's
the audio equivalent of wearing sunglasses when you talk to someone.
Pretty much. But yeah, so that's been the deal. We're still working it out. Also, WWNO just got a new news director. I didn't realize that they hadn't done news until 3 or 4 years ago.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Apparently it was just classical music, until very recently. So I think they're still figuring it out, and I think they're trying to coordinate more with the Baton Rouge station to do more, coordinated stuff. And I think there's a sense when there were these the historically black churches, were getting set on fire by that cop's son.
I'm laughing because it's so fucked up, not because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, but when that happened, I think there was a discussion at WWNO when it's how are we not owning that story? You know, how are national... Oh, hey. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
In person. I know your Twitter pretty well,
It's, you're one of the only people who does, so...
this is you.
Yeah.
This is you.
I'll switch over.
Yeah. Sure. So where are you coming from?
Right now, Marquis. My friend's from Philly, so watching that game, basketball,
Yeah.
Who you got?
Huh?
Who you got?
I'd never bet on Philly. Also, Philly kind of annoys me. So no, Philly's cool. As a city, I didn't mean it like that.
What's up, homie?
Hey.
So,
How you doing?
We're just wrapping up.
Michael.
Welcome back.
Your mommy juice awaits.
Oh god, I'm so hungover. leftovers.
Dude, me too.
I finally used your bidet, and I agree with Mary Devon. Weird placement.
Yeah,
It
interesting.
didn't shoot at my asshole. It shot like
in the back.
yeah.
I've never
weird.
used a bidet, and that's like my fear that like it's just gonna send poop water all over my legs.
No, it's not poop water.
That's
I
not a
was afraid
problem?
of that too. I used to flush before I would use it because I was afraid it would like get the poop water.
No, but I don't mean like the poop water already in the toilet. I mean like water that hits my asshole, becomes poopy, and then
Oh,
runs
and
down
then-
my legs. Like, is that not a thing you deal with?
Oh, I just don't care. I
Okay.
mean, I just assume I'm covered in shit all the time.
Yeah. Safe assumption.
Cool.
I guess I just sit further back.
And that does happen. I do get very poop wet. Yeah. Anyway, keep on going.
It does make sense that you have like a really upright shit posture.
Neurotic in every way.
Like slouchy
It's your
a lot of the
proudest
time,
moment.
but like at that moment, yeah.
I mean, nothing makes you sit up straight like cold water blown into your asshole.
That's
Yeah.
when I'm most relaxed, actually.
You ever
It's
put
the
your
only
feet
time
up
I'm
on the
relaxed.
toilet when you're pooping?
Oh,
I've done that when I'm
the gargoyle.
It helps.
Wait,
Yeah.
all the way up on the toilet?
Yeah, yeah. It's like how you're supposed to poop. 'Cause
Squatting.
you're supposed
Yeah, I
to
mean, there's
be
like
fine.
the like squatty
Potty.
potty things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's government propaganda. Personally, I think that
just like recycling.
right.
No,
yeah,
but that's
yeah.
like actually kind of right. Like, don't we actually not recycle? Because like China used to buy all our
Yeah.
recycling,
Yeah, they just-
now they don't. So
they-
like it is actually.
Yeah, because our recycling quality was dog shit. It was just
Right.
like a bunch of greasy pizza boxes, and they're like, we can't make toys out of this.
Or we can, and we'll sell them back to the Americans.
Right? Yeah. So we were talking about WWNO, who just started doing radio news with like 4 months ago, apparently.
No, like 4 years ago.
4 years ago, sorry.
But like I didn't realize before that it was like classical music pretty much only.
Yeah.
So yeah, that newsroom it's still kind of finding its identity a bit. But yeah, I think if it partners with the Lens a little more, like get the two like nonprofit newsrooms kind of linked up a little bit, especially now that we have like one newspaper, that would be good.
So you suggested a couple stories that we could talk about that you have worked on. You said you've done a lot of work on surveillance, and
Yeah. Oof.
we all did. We did our homework, which is something that we never do.
Well, it's also like, yeah, I'm down to talk about it. It's also Sunday, and I feel like we're all hungover. If you don't want to talk about it,
Oh no! I
wouldn't
mean,
be
I
offended.
definitely want to talk about the surveillance stuff because
Oh, cool,
it just
cool,
raises
cool,
a lot of
cool.
really interesting questions.
It does.
But
It
the
definitely
you said that like the story, the sort of the consultant story didn't really get a lot of
Yeah. Didn't get a lot of play. I mean, it got a lot of play with like people who have like been around in New Orleans politics for a long time because it includes like we were going back covering like Jim Singleton back on the council, like doing his thing in the 80s. And so like people who watch
I feel like
this-
any article where Bold gets mentioned, there's just so many names that people
Yeah. And
like have
yeah.
so many feelings about.
For sure. I actually want to bring up something about because we called out Bold in that article, which is fair because like it's a very like pay to play kind of institution.
BOLD stands for
The Black Organization of Leadership Development.
Got
It was
it.
like Singleton's thing, which I think formed like they were kind of what was it? I'm not going to talk about the 80s because I wasn't here. But you know, Jay Banks, he's part of Bold. Oliver Thomas was. But so it felt shitty to call that organization out because
Right.
it's like, first of all, you're relying on like archived coverage, right? So it's like I don't know who was at the Times-Picayune in the 80s, but like safe bet there were some racist people there,
Right, for
you know.
sure.
So there's that, and then there's also like I feel like this inside baseball of like paying yourself has always been a thing in New Orleans. I don't know for sure, but like that's what I think.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like organized officially, right? So it's just like friends and like these like I don't know, maybe like underground societies or crews. I don't know how it worked, but it's like nothing that you can report on as like a explicit connection. And I think like to get over the kind of like racism and the boundaries that people had to go through to get into New Orleans politics, like these organizations did form.
Yeah.
And then like once they formed, it was like, oh shit, wait, hold up, corruption, like, you know, don't do that.
I mean, and that's
so-
like
Right.
a classic story of
course,
like,
yeah.
you know, a marginalized community in like any place.
For sure.
Like they'll band together and then a couple people at the top will be more ruthless than the other motherfuckers.
Well, I
and
mean,
then, you
yeah.
know,
I'm never excited to defend Hillary Clinton, but like she basically got into politics and was doing everything that everyone else was doing and got fucking roasted for it. But
Yeah.
I still whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I always question whether it was like, obviously there was a lot of sexism involved. There's no doubt about that. I also wonder if there wasn't just like a natural progression of people getting sick of neoliberal bullshit and how much each of those kind of factors played into like the like huge distaste of Hillary Clinton.
Everyone was right about everything they said about her. It's just that it's just that men had just been that bad the whole time.
Right, and that's what I'm saying about bull. Right, exactly. Right.
And it does suck.
And that's the analogy, yeah.
And it's always, and that's why it is hard, because I do it, everyone who like hates Hillary Clinton admits, unless you're absolutely a psychopath who's actually sexist. Of course, people were sexist against her. It just sucks to be like, you have to say like, yes, that sucks, but it doesn't change the fact that this is bad. And also, most people who like hate her and acknowledge that had been criticizing the other people.
Right. Yeah.
So it's frustrating. Yeah.
But anyway,
my mom complained about Elizabeth Warren's voice a couple days ago. It was so
Look, I get it. What's your mom's name?
Laura.
I get it, Laura. I am a big voice person, and I get accused of being anti-Semitic a lot because I happen to hate a lot of Jews' voices. But most of the time, it's not Jewy voices, which is an anti-Semitic thing to say. It's like they like spit too much or have a lisp, and they just happen.
It's that they're hiding their Semitism, and you don't like it because you feel tricked by the Jews.
No.
So what's the beef with Elizabeth Warren's voice? Is it vocal fry?
I don't hear
Does
it.
she always talk about her policies like this?
I can hear why someone would dislike Elizabeth Warren's voice. I hate Diane
Or she's
Mac's
just like
voice.
cocky and a woman also. Like
but
I
she's
don't
not
know.
that cocky.
Yeah.
She almost feels like she hates doing this.
Right. No, I mean she's like a roller backpack.
Yeah, it feels like
kind
she
of
actually
person.
believes
You know what
in. I feel like she actually believes in what she's saying, and that's why it's so hard for it to sound convincing and charismatic. Because she's not charismatic, she's convincing. She's not charismatic, and that makes me trust her so much more.
Yeah.
But like,
I think
imagine-
she's charismatic when she like is visibly pissed off.
Yeah.
like she's
Yeah, when she's
really good
pissed.
at like
But
going.
when she's
When she's, like,
being hopeful,
cross-examining
she's
someone?
not.
Yeah, right.
Anytime she does that thing where her like arm is over her head and
Yeah.
she's talking,
Yeah.
and you're like, your arm's gonna get tired. It's been
Yeah,
up
I
there
love
for
that.
so long.
The thing in her Twitter bio about how like listing her the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau as one of her children.
that was funny.
Extremely
That was
charming.
funny.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, did y'all see the unveiling of in Iraq? They unveiled a new statue, a bronze statue of a shoe to commemorate the guy who
yes.
threw a shoe at George Bush.
Oh, that's amazing.
Dude, is that guy
yeah.
alive?
Yeah. He like tweets. He's on Twitter.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Great. I turned off my phone.
It's like a lot of not English, but it's worth a follow. Every now and then he tweets in English, and that's fun.
But so just to go back to the this story, can you give us a quick overview? So the thing that basically here you do it because you wrote it.
I'll give
All right.
like the I'll give like the background. So like we are unique in New Orleans that we regulate our own power company. Like almost everywhere else, it's on a state level, a regional level, and then like we're even weirder because where it is on a local level, it's like usually a municipally owned power company. But we have a like locally regulated investor owned utility,
Right.
which is just not really done. And what else like sets us apart is that most regulators have like a lot of employees, and we for a long time are the council utility regulatory office. It only had like 1 or 2 employees, and so basically for 35 years since like we retook control of NOPSI, basically it's been these consultants that do like they get like 97% of our budget for this work, which is just a complete outlier. Like we don't have anyone like being like the quarterback of regulation. You know what I mean? Like no one like ordering the consultants to do anything. So they basically,
Right.
But what makes it even weirder is that it's been like the same consultants, like the same people for like 35 years.
And those contracts are worth $7 million a year.
yeah,
now?
about $7 million now.
And didn't like 2 of those people just die?
2 of them died, but like the Wilkerson, he was like the local one. That contract's gone. The other one that got like the head honcho died, but the firm out of Denver, they still like have that contract. So not a lot has changed, but yeah, I mean, so basically the way that like what the story was about is the fact that the council doesn't, unlike the mayor, the council doesn't give out a lot of contracts. Most of them are city contracts, not council. So these make up like most of what the council gives out every year in money. So if you were corrupt or if you did want to get favors or whatever, these contracts were the way to do it. It was really like the only, opportunity for that type of stuff. So we went back and we looked at like all these years of, I mean, they've been donating to like every city council member for decades,
Right.
and like the different connections that Jay Banks worked for Legend Consulting, which is one of our consultants. So it's like, it's just been a very incestuous thing where they've been kept on year after year by making these like close political connections. And yeah, I mean, so I mean, like that's what the story was about. But I think the bigger story is that like these consultants run our regulation, and like more than like doing, like everyone has consultants if you're doing utility regulation, like to go to DC and take care of some shit.
But no elected official has the expertise to question.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
So usually it's like a public service commission. So you're running like, hey, I'm an expert in energy. But yeah, like the people who like Jason Williams, the consultants would write speeches for him for every utility meeting. Like he would sit up there and read a statement.
Right.
You know, so like it's you're yeah, that's like a huge point. Like people come onto the council, they have no idea because it's complicated and it's boring and it's like not always going to get a lot of attention. Even though like, you know, it's super important. Like it's the outages, right? It's like what we talk about. I mean, the flooding yesterday, that turbine went out because the connection to Entergy's power, you know, got fucked up. So it's super important stuff. It's just super wonky. But, you know, we're going to keep an eye out, you know, if we're going to keep reporting on these consultants because, I mean, they've also been like throughout the years, like accused of like flying out like all the council members to DC, taking them to swanky meals, and like a lot of it's like ego. So it's hard to like write about, like it's like explicit corruption because they like really, I think these DC Denver guys are able to come in and like, you know, they're wearing fancy suits and they take you out to nice places and they introduce you to all these powerful, important people. So I think ego is a part of it, but then also like campaign contributions have, you know, been a big part too.
I can't find it right now, but there was some quotation in the story where it was someone in the same breath being like, okay, so like, yes, I work for Denton's, but like the capacity with that I am dealing with this has nothing to do with Denton's. Like,
yeah, talk about the conflict of interest.
In terms of people working for Denton's and then like other people?
There was like, I think one firm was litigating. I actually don't remember.
My brain's moving really slow too.
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys are right. I just.
Okay, so I had a question.
I trust you on my own article. Yeah.
Oh fuck! Hold on. God damn it! What's wrong with my brain?
I read this.
I'll cut this.
I read it like when you first sent it to me.
It was like way too long.
I read the
I'm sorry
surveillance
about that.
ones today. No, it's not way too long.
The
I'm sorry for my exhaustive report.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I also like sometimes with this shit.
do you think it was one of those things where like
Oh, I remember what I was going to.
people were like, okay, yeah, this is clearly you laid out like the ways in which this is like a corrupt and like broken system that's been going on for years and years and years, and people were kind of just like, yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah, I think like the people who knew it like knew that already. I think they were all like psyched to see it written down. But I also see like a lot of the shit I write for, especially with like if we talk about surveillance, like some of this I don't even think of like, oh, this is gonna be a bombshell and people are gonna like pop off. Like I think some of it is like this is gonna be a resource for people. Like if anyone's looking at these consultants and being like, there's something sketchy about this, and they Google the consultants, they can find this story, and like if you want, there's 5,000 words that like lays out how this is all kind of shaped over the last 30 years.
And then the next time someone comes across an example of this, it becomes part of a pattern rather than
right. So you know, having
I guess that's
down,
the thing when like all this stuff is so normalized, you have to just sort of like wait for someone to like slip up and like I don't know, get drunk and say something, and like then everyone's pissed at them. And
I mean the big thing was like Oliver Thomas spoke to us, which was pretty big, and then Jim Singleton. Do you know Jim like y'all are from New Orleans, right? Mm-hmm. Jim Singleton is like 7 fucking feet tall. He is huge, and like meeting him in person, like it really. I mean, he's
not the guy from Astral Project. I take it. He plays a very large bass.
Yeah, not that guy. Not that guy. Different, large presence.
Absolute unit.
Yeah, absolute unit. What were we talking about? It's hard to make this sound interesting, but I think people should read it if they're interested. You know?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it definitely is, because it's like, it's just one of those things that I think people suspect, and they definitely suspect about New Orleans particularly.
Right.
And it is just like, once you see it laid out, you're like, oh, that's exactly how I thought that probably worked.
And there's a big thing
Here's the quote.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Denton's does not have a relationship with the Louisiana Democratic Party, Peterson said in the email to the Lens. Separate and apart from my role with the Dentons, I serve as chair of the Louisiana Democratic
right.
I
Forgot about that. Yeah, Karen fucking Carter Peterson works for Denton's and has for years. And there's a lot to be reported on in the Louisiana Democratic Party, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's just like someone like taking off a jacket and being like, "See," you know.
Sometimes I don't wear the jacket.
Division of
I
labor.
own the jacket, but I'm not always wearing the jacket.
Right.
It's not, and like, so like some of those connections are hard to find because it's like maybe there's like this implicit thing where if you're like, I don't know, you want to be the DA and you want to get some funding for, but yeah, the Karen Carter Peterson piece is definitely one of like the most obvious points of this. And like the other thing is like, so now we got like, I mean, like a little preview. We've gotten like 3 years of their invoices that we're now digging through. And yeah, like I kind of think like Denton sells itself as this like global law firm that's like, running everything. And Clint Vince comes in and sells him like this hot shot. But a lot of people are saying like he makes bank off of like New Orleans, and like he's jumped from firm to firm from year to year. And what we've been told is like he uses New Orleans as like his bargaining ship to get his new contract, right? Like that's, and I don't know if that's true or not, but that is what we've been told by some people.
But so to use this story as sort of a lens through which to view other
lens,
yeah, right. Like talk about the ways in which being on the utilities committee helps you finance your next campaign.
Yes, please advocate.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, like some of it's easy. Some of it's just like, you get $2,500 from, the consultants and their wives and like random people from Denver or whoever.
The ratio between what they're contributing and what they're making is insane.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's like $2,500 here and there versus a $7 or not probably like $1.5 million contract, something like that.
Like Denton's gets like $3.5 million. Jesus. Yeah, Denton's is raking it in.
That is
for sure.
That's return on investment right there, dude.
Yeah. Well, like, and I think
they're just
like,
part of the club. Like once you're old and solidified, people just have these connections. And
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like you asked me, like, how does it help? And that was like the biggest struggle because yes, like. Campaign contributions are part of it, but like, are you really going to sell out the city for $2,500 in a campaign fund? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But I think like part of it is like this informal like power connections that you get to different people, connections that you get like to wealthy people outside of New Orleans. And then like something that people have said to me over and over is that like maybe it's not even practical, like maybe it's just ego based. Like you have someone there like coming in from DC and like stroking your ego and saying like you're doing the right thing.
You want to
like,
feel like you are important enough to be doing,
especially like in New Orleans politics because it's such a fucking dead end. Like where do you go? Like right, like you go national or nothing. Like it's nice to feel important, I guess, if you're on the city council. I think that's a significant part of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that like ass kissy shit happens in like any scene that you're gonna have, but it's just so much uglier.
Trying
when
so
it's
hard not to say
money
comedy.
and politics. No, I mean definitely comedy, but like this same shit replicates anytime.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like
I was thinking
it's
of
like
it
people
too.
will completely like sell out their values to be around someone that's probably not even gonna ever do shit for them. Really,
and like Clint Vince too. If you meet this dude, he is like charismatic as hell. Like you want to be his friend. That's for sure. Like, and he introduced me when I like first started like sniffing around the story and like. Like kind of like shook my hand. He's like, I've read your work. You're so talented. Like, like he's good at that. And I think that's been like his main attribute. By the way, do y'all mind if I use this stupid fucking thing?
Hell yeah.
Thanks.
Is it cool or
normal?
Not cool.
It's not. It's like
Mountain
the least
Dew or
cool.
Mountain Dew Code Red?
It's the.
I fucking hate this thing. But if I don't, I'm gonna want to get up and leave.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, do you smoke cigarettes?
Yeah, and like I
do
this
too.
Originally to like quit, and now I just do this like in between my
Supplementally.
cigarettes.
Yeah.
Like,
Supplementally is what I just said. Supplementally.
That's right.
Last thing I do in a
next
day,
time.
first thing I do when I wake up.
My mom is a
horrible.
heavy vapor.
Yeah.
She quit smoking.
Does she do vape tricks?
No, but she just blows these plumes. And my mom is this like really kind of neurotic.
Chucking clouds.
She wears like clothes from Chico's, and then she whips out this like double barrel baby blue vape that she gets like special mixes from. It's very, very funny.
what flavor?
She gets a special mix at the vape store. She also talks about the guys at the vape store like they're her doctors.
The lens shares a wall with a vape shop, and these
Which
dudes, Crescent City Clouds. We're in Gert Town, but they are. That's like this is like they're like racist gamers. Like I think that's the crew. The conversation.
So they're gamers.
Like, we're sitting. Yeah, I mean, like we're sitting in there like talking about a story, and they're like. One real conversation was them talking about since they played like first person shooter games, like in the apocalypse, they'll be more prepared. Like they'll be like ready for it. It's cool.
I remember thinking that when I was 12. It was an extremely exciting thought. Like,
I wonder how racist gamers think the apocalypse is going to happen.
The only way that's true is like I fantasize about violence all the time, so I'm willing to do it at the drop of a hat. Which is like, I guess.
Yeah. I don't trust them. I also don't trust vaping. I feel like we're going to find out it's like 10 times worse than cigarettes.
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm really, really worried about my mom doing it so much. Although, I don't know. It can't be worse than cigarettes. I think it's just going to be the same.
Aerosol, like, there's like other shit involved. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes this thing tastes like mechanical.
Yeah, that's happened to me with the weed vape. Like sometimes I'll be smoking it and like I won't get it, like it'll be out and I'll just inhale like a liquid battery and I'm just like, what did I just do? And I've smoked it before. Like I just felt like I was like huffing the stuff, which I've only done once, the computer keyboard cleaner. It feels like...
Did
you like spray it the wrong way?
Did it make your voice all fucked up?
No, well, it poppers. We tried to do it in high school. I don't know if we did it correctly because we had a lot of access to it. But like poppers, how like you have fun for 1 minute and then your head hurts and you're like, oh, that was just poison.
Yeah.
You
can feel
the like,
it's like dad whippets. You can like feel the brain cells dying.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I just got dumber.
And not like with weed where you're just like, I'm cooler now. I'm dumber, but it's okay.
I have never felt that way after smoking weed. Not once have I been like, I'm better than I was, and no one hates me.
I feel like every time you do poppers, you're like, I just forgot a whole book that I read, and I'm gonna read one less book in my life too. So I'm down 2 books.
Yeah.
I've never remembered a movie or a book I've ever read. I don't know what was in any of them. I read your article a week ago. I'm just like, what was it about?
Yeah,
I'm not that bad.
beefed up on my own shit before coming here. I don't remember.
That makes me feel better because I would write stuff so badly and so poorly researched, but like I would get big projects that were still about like minor stuff for Nola Defender, and I would try to do such a good job, and I would like write it and it would be good, but I wouldn't even understand exactly what I was saying sometimes because I was like 23, and even though I was a poli-sci major, New Orleans politics is really confusing.
Oh, it's crazy.
Anyway, so yeah, I didn't even understand what my article said, and people would, well, this is not the case for you. You're a real writer. I was just trying to be a writer and I wasn't getting paid. But I would not remember what I wrote, and I wouldn't have even understood it when I did write it. That's why it was really, really badly written.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just one thing back about vaping. On the way here, I stopped at Hank's to get the wine, and there's I think it's a vape store like across the street from there called the Herb Shop. I don't know what it is. Like, it's not weed, so don't call it the Herb Shop. It's fucking stupid.
I mean, if you sell weed accessories.
Wait, that's not Maypop, is it?
No.
Okay.
It was like something else, but there were 2 dudes like on the balcony above it, and they were both vaping just fucking giant clouds and blasting Wrong Way by Sublime so loud that you could hear it for 3 blocks. And they were both shirtless, and like you could tell they had been
looking
shirtless
for a 17-year-old.
like since 1994, and just like they look like catcher's mitts now. And,
to think that they're cool. Yeah.
Oh man, those guys are happier than I'll ever be.
That's
though,
the demographic.
Probably.
Nah, they're probably gonna die soon.
They're pretty.
I just
like the incel crew.
The attitude that they have, that like the vape culture has.
Fuck badly a lot. I don't think they're incels.
Really? I feel like guys
they
that still listen to
this.
Sublime hit on teenage girls because they're like, they don't know I'm a fucking loser.
Yeah.
As a teenage girl that used to get hit on by guys like that, I think that's who they are. But I have no idea. I did not see these people. So.
But
a couple real bad fishes.
If I'd even seen them, I could identify.
Like vape culture, the sort of like cool guy attitude of vape culture is so completely at odds with what the vape clouds smell like, which is like sunshine and rainbows. It's just like, oh, because you're just
like, it's like, I'm a cool guy. You want this bubble gum?
Exactly.
Yeah, the first one I ever smoked was like mint chocolate chip, and it was disgusting. There's nothing worse than like inhaling like a fake mint thing that's not a menthol. I love menthol cigarettes, but like if you're like the slightest bit hungover, it's the most disgusting thing in the world.
Do they make cigarette flavored vape juice?
Yeah, they do.
That's the first thing.
That's the first thing.
and
Yeah,
it sucks.
It does suck. It burns.
And it's just not tobacco. It's like,
I like. Do you use the Juul? I know it's worse than the vape.
I don't, but it's like it's almost like the first pack of cigarettes I bought. Like I just bought this, and now I just can't.
Well.
Yeah, so like I just can't change. Like I use the same like juice, actually like locally made. It's locally made.
Hell yeah.
Juice.
Locally brewed.
Yeah. Oh, this
man.
is Vino Verde. Oh, I hear about that all the time.
Yeah,
on your podcast.
On the podcast. Yeah, it's responsible for most of the mistakes we've made on the podcast. Yeah.
Like continuing to do the podcast.
I listened to good podcasts the whole drive to and from Shreveport, and I was like, man, we got to be better. I'm glad we have Michael on today.
Yeah.
Is your
Wait,
middle
tell me
name
about the
Isaac?
wedding. I want to hear
Isaac,
about
yeah.
that. Well, it's so fresh, though.
I have so much to say, and it's going to be so boring because I think it's interesting because I like going to Shreveport is just like going to. Wait, where are you from, Michael?
I'm from New York. I'm from Westchester. You had someone on that was from Westchester.
No.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrible place.
But did you like listening to what she had to say about it? Did you felt like it read?
Yeah, I think it was
tracked?
similar. Like a lot of I think like the other thing about Westchester that I was thinking, it's like a lot of like my parents and like a lot of people there was like people from like working class like families who like worked their fucking asses off to get to this point that they were told like America like told them like this is what you got to do, like get to this suburb and do this thing, and then everyone gets there and they're like so fucking miserable, but they can't admit that like that's why they're miserable, because then that's admitting like, oh, that's like 4 decades
That's what
of
we
work.
live for.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone's just like petty and like there's no culture and like
Yeah, when
kids
there's like a
do drugs,
generational
yeah.
struggle, and then like the closest thing you have to culture is like going to like PF Chang's on a Thursday night.
Yeah, well, like,
You're
my culture,
fuck.
yeah, it was like drinking under a bridge. It's like
Yeah.
the culture of the suburbs, right? Like it's just like and like stealing your parents' medication. Like it's gross. It's super gross. Anyway, I'm sorry, Shreveport.
No. I want to hear about that. That sounds
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
it's super cool.
I mean,
I would also
in
say
short,
that is.
yeah.
I would also say that
It's
is
everywhere.
like American culture.
Yeah.
Is stealing your parents' meds. And
I did that in New Orleans because, like, even, I was really boring. So I took no advantage of, like, the culture we had.
Yeah.
Before I could
Oh,
drink,
yeah.
I was just like, let me steal drugs.
I got cool parents, so I stole their weed instead of their meds.
Oh, that's
so,
nice.
yeah.
Speaking of cool parents,
That's good parenting.
who I
Happy
just
Mother's Day.
yeah.
I'm missing. I feel like such a bitch. I missed out on. I could have, if I wasn't doing the podcast, actually gone and seen my grandmother, who still had like company over. But my mom hates her own mother, so I was like, should we like come? And then she was like, no, we'll be leaving. Don't even worry about it. We're gonna get the fuck out of there. We're not gonna drag it out. Like she was like, I'm gonna see my mother for 30 minutes and then I'm gonna fucking get out. Yeah, so Shreveport. Oh yeah, speaking of cool moms, my friend's mom, Mish, is like, I mean, we don't talk about politics, but she's the funniest woman in the world. She is just this like tall, very Southern, very fun woman. Like she was like sweating on the dance floor. We were like dancing a Proud Mary. And then she was like, Mary Devin, I heard you had and she's like dancing. She's like, I heard you had a pot cookie in your purse. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, give it to me. And so I went up to the bridal suite because we all got ready in this like gorgeous, God, your money goes a long way in Shreveport. We had this gorgeous ass like whole floor that we got ready on. My friend got us the ugliest dresses and
Were you
makeup.
wearing white? I saw that
Yes.
picture. That's crazy,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, it is crazy. And I looked like a pornographic actress. I was wearing, look at the makeup they did for me.
It looks like there's like
I look like divine.
it looks like there's like 15
And I was the first
Snapchat
one.
filters like designed to make you look like a gender that doesn't even exist yet.
And not my race. What race do I look? It's not white. Okay?
Okay, no
and it's
comment.
not black.
I'm not gonna guess.
No
I'm certainly
comment.
not gonna
Okay,
guess.
so, but you know what it is.
He's a journalist, so he
Yeah, you
can't
look Asian.
talk about
Yeah, I
it.
look very Asian. I look like a white woman who's trying to look Asian. And like, not in a racist way. She just made my face narrower than it is and like my eyes prettier than they are.
But you look like a cartoon Asian person.
Exactly. Because I think she did like geisha. That's what it is. It reads as Asian because it's like a stereotype. When she was doing the makeup, I asked for bold natural. I was the first girl to get her makeup done. Because I made the mistake of showing up on time to get ready after everyone else had stayed out late. So I just like waltzed in with my suitcase like, I'm ready for the wedding. And then they were like, okay, we're here. We're going to do your makeup. makeup, and then this girl who does special effects makeup.
Oh, shit.
We said
Yes.
I said a natural look, but bold, but natural. I was like, I want you to be able to tell I'm wearing makeup, but I don't want it to look. I was like, basically, just make me hot is what I want.
Yeah.
And then I was so excited because I hadn't seen any of it like throughout the process, and I was like thinking that what she was doing, like the reason she was doing so much shit is that she was doing like invisible stuff, where like y'all don't watch makeup videos, or maybe you do, but like they do this crazy shit where they do contouring, so it looks like you're not wearing that much makeup, but they're really just making your cheekbones look higher, getting rid of your double chin, making your face look narrow. So I thought that's what was going on, and then I looked at my face, and there was just a lot of color. And then no one wanted to get their makeup done after me because they were like, Mary Devon looks like a drag queen, and they told me as much. And then also we had to cover my tattoo because Jess didn't want anyone to see my tattoo. All of our dresses were ugly and horrible. We were all wearing we all looked like very impoverished brides ourselves because the wedding dresses were ivory. They were very Grecian, and if you had big boobs, your boobs fell out, and if you had small boobs, somehow they still fell out. It was the worst thing in the world. We had safety pins in our dresses. We were all wearing Spanx except for this one, the only single girl who honestly was a huge whore. And she was the worst the whole time. She anyway, no, I like her, but
that's a cool way to like highlight the bride though. Like we're gonna make you look like shitty.
Oh
brides,
yeah.
Wait, the one girl, she didn't wear a bra or Spanx, so like she would just like the wind blew, and I was like, I can see her pussy. Alex's pussy is out. It was hilarious. She was the drunkest. She refused to get her makeup done, and she fucked the worst groomsmen. But anyway,
Can I get a +1 next time?
yeah, if you should, she's great. She's like has this like really important job, and she's really funny, and she was like probably the only one whose politics I actually like agree with in the whole trip, but she just was like trying to get fucked, and I was like, we're all married or getting married or like have kids and are just like on a different level than she was, and it was weird.
I don't know if she fucked, then she's a scab for the sex strike.
Right. I fucked this weekend. We had great scab sex because we were in a hotel.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Damn, what a crazy story.
You said that you really wanted to talk about it on the show.
I did. Oh, the sex strike.
Yeah.
So the sex strike, I mean, everyone's already exhausted all the points I was going to make, but Alyssa Milano, do you know about the sex strike? Yeah, everyone knows about it. It's stupid. What a dumb bitch. It's just really funny because I got into a fight in Memphis 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, actually, with a girl because she suggested that, like Lissy Strada, but she's like, or Lissy, what is it, Lissy Strada?
I say Lexi Strada, but I have no idea.
So this girl who's pretty funny, I was staying with her. I was staying with her in Memphis because I was doing shows, and I didn't realize that there was a weird thing going on with her and her roommate, and she was like kind of being shit on and in like a really crappy position. And then she was telling me her sex strike idea, and then I was like, basically, I was like, that's internalized misogyny because I loved that phrase back then, and now I hate it. But I was just like, that's basically saying that our value lies in our sexuality. Also, why should we deprive ourselves and deprive people who aren't? And she was like, well, it's the male power structure, which like that's what I used to think when I was 18 was like, wow, like this theory is like every man is bad. And it's like, yeah, but also we all know that like class and everything like obscures all of the like idea of like men being a block of power. Like, so
personally, if I go 3 weeks without sex, I like run to Georgia and advocate for abortion.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, why is depriving like politically powerless people of sex like?
Also, who the fuck does she think she's talking to?
Right.
Like the people that are like clamoring to listen to Alyssa Milano,
right?
Like are probably not like
and like
going out there and like fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like unfortunately there's a lot of I don't know. Anyway, the reason I found out about the sex strike was that girl and I who had gotten in that fight, we sort of made up, but we always kind of like joke because she still thinks that she's right.
Didn't she throw a drink in your face?
She threw it. No. Okay, I said she threw a drink at me. I made her cry and get mad, and then she took an empty beer bottle and like went like this, and like it was empty. She didn't hit me with it, but it was very like, oh fuck. It was one of those moments where everyone went like that, and I was sleeping at her house, and I was like, oh, this sucks. I'm sleeping on this crazy bitch's couch, and so then everyone was kind of like laughing at her, and then the roommate that I found out was like being really shitty to her ended up driving me home, and then I found out from him. Then he like told me all these things I could tell were lies, and I was really torn because I was like, anyway, it was a weird situation. So the first time I was ever introduced to the idea of people actually seriously advocating a sex strike, I got into a fight, and then she sent me a screenshot of Alyssa Milano's tweet, basically like, I'm right. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, Spike Lee made a movie about that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I missed that.
I didn't see it.
I heard it was terrible. Also, Spike Lee gets money from the police now to make propaganda shit. Yeah, it's like one of the...
What?
I mean, Boots Riley called him out about Black Klansmen being like super pro-cop and like a completely false narrative that he presented as true. But it's like, yeah, he got like $250,000 from, I think, NYPD to like make shit to like improve like people's perception of the police.
Have you ever?
It's wild.
Have you ever heard about the CIA's like whole movie department? They like there's like people like do you what's that fucking Ben Affleck movie that sucked? Argo.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Argo.
I didn't like Argo.
No, it was terrible.
It was, but like that's
and like
was
all
that
the
CIA
recent
propaganda?
like
yeah,
Catherine
that
Bigelow
and like
shit.
Homeland. So like what they do is they're like, we'll give you access to like all these records, and we'll like you can come in and talk to people. So like.
Yeah, that's how Zero Dark 30 happened.
Yeah, so it's like they give you free access to like this information that like they have written down, and so it does make it really easy to make it. And then like they read this shit and they're like, "Oh shit, that's awesome!" But it's like what the CIA wrote down. So people fall into that trap.
Oh my
like
god!
Ben Affleck.
I've never seen any movies, so I've never seen these. But that's crazy to me.
I feel so torn about Catherine Bigelow because like she does take money from the CIA to make propaganda films that are like horrible, but also. Point Break, I think, is the only movie that anyone needs to watch.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Absolutely
that's
my favorite movie. It might be the only movie I've watched all the way through.
Never seen Point Break.
Get the fuck out of here. We should watch Point Break right now.
Yeah, we should.
We should do a rip.
What are you doing tonight? Can you watch Point Break?
I'm down. Yeah. I used to be an elopement photographer. Just thinking about your wedding thing. It was a company called Simply Eloped.
Holy shit!
I didn't know you were a photographer.
Yeah, I moved down here to be like a like photojournalist, but
wait,
that,
an elopement photographer.
An elopement photographer. So it's like people who like.
So people who are like, we want to do this on a whim, and we really want to hurt our families.
Yeah. Well, it was a mix. Like so, like 20...
I only will photograph those weddings.
Yeah. Well, it was like so. It's like the company was like, you pay us a flat fee. Like we send like an officiant, like a photographer. Actually, that was it. That was the whole company.
Yeah.
But. Like it was like 20% like super cool people who were like, listen, we've like lived together for 15 years, but like for tax purposes, we're getting married, and we like figured let's go to New Orleans. So like those were super sweet, and they'd like have two friends, it'd be great. Some of them were like so fucking sad, and like people would be like fighting. I don't know,
because they were spontaneous. Or
no, like it was like some of them were like spontaneous, and you could tell they didn't know each other that well. And then like some of them were like it was like they were like 40, and this was like their might as like
just going for it.
Yeah, like this is my best chance.
Or one of them really wanted it, and the other one was like, I don't want to break up.
Okay, that was so many of them.
Yeah,
and like
I know a lot of people who've gotten married.
Wait, these guys maybe get married in Vegas?
No, you can't accidentally get married to like for real in
Jeff
Vegas.
Could.
No, Jeff also ended up. Jeff is the man that ended up paying a stripper a lot of money just to talk about his divorce.
Hell yes.
That he really is that person. I know that every woman thinks that her husband is that person, but I know that Jeff is sincerely that person. I'm sure his dick was hard for her, but like he was like, just love me.
Yeah.
Jeff once said he wanted to fuck one of my articles and make it breakfast.
He did?
Which was like a very flattering.
Wow.
What was
Has
it?
he ever been that sexually aggressive with you?
No, never.
It was
He does make me breakfast.
He's a good cook, though. Yeah.
It was like the only opinion article I've ever written about New Orleans politics. I just like shit talked Mitch Landrieu when like he like New York Times like tweet like right after 2016 was like Mitch Landrieu might be president, and like I saw that and I was like, what? Like no one from New Orleans told you that, right? Like there's no way. So I just like shit talked, which was fun, but I
accidentally got in an argument with Rebecca Solnit online about that because she was like super like pro. I know. I was like, no, I can't fucking mansplain to Rebecca Solnit. Shit. But like she had a really bad take on it.
Well, I mean, her book on New Orleans is so fucking bad. I was going to review it for N+1, and I could not bring myself to write that scathing of a review.
You write for N+1?
I do not write for N+1.
Okay.
My friend Maura Donegan, who did the Shitty Media Men list. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, a lot of online leftists who are secretly misogynist hate her.
Yeah. Well, she's also like...
That was sweet. That was so cool.
Yeah. But anyway,
Not like the reaction and the misogyny.
yeah, she was working there for a while, and I think she was the reviews editor, and she was like, "You want to review something? How about this?" And I read it. It was so bad, and like the. I'm not gonna say who it is, but the other person who wrote it is so nice, and like I could not bring myself to just like completely
Shit
roast
on
her.
it.
Yeah.
That's a smart decision for you.
Well, whatever. Like, I mean, it's just like there's.
I mean, I didn't read that, but I do think that Rebecca Solnit's like great most of the time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, I've kind of quit like shit talking, like in like a career. Like I'll shit talk on Twitter, but like the Michelangelo thing was kind of my last like. I'm gonna just like shit talk and like just talk in my voice.
Why'd you decide to quit that?
I think for a couple of reasons. Like I hate the hot take writing culture. Like I fucking despise it, and it's just like. If you have an idea, you don't need to like publish it, right? You can think it and like tell your friends.
But don't you think that there still is a place for hot takes?
Yes.
It's just there's too many hot takes.
But like another thing is like hot takes. Like I personally like the shit that I care about. Like I wouldn't want to like read a white man's take on it usually, right?
Okay,
so it's
that's
like,
fair.
Why would I go ahead and do that?
If you
like,
really care, why don't you
yeah,
find someone who also cares, who like it's affecting personally?
And like I can get like really worked up about like incarceration in Louisiana, but like that's like why would anyone want that?
And
from
it's
me?
more powerful. It's more powerful for everyone, and more people will read it if it's from someone who's affected. By it.
And what we can do at the like what I can do at the Lens is like. I see that as like creating fodder for like people's arguments, right? Like if anyone wants to write about whatever and like, write an opinionated thing, they can get their facts. Like,
this is something that I wanted to ask you about. Is like in terms of the Lens's mission or whatever, which I know you can only speak to in a limited capacity, but the ratio of direct readership versus being a citation for other people.
Well, you know, like a lot of publications don't cite the local publications that they fucking take information from. So definitely not that. I think like
or a source.
There's way more than I thought like direct impact from Lens articles than I thought there would be. But like we talked about at the beginning, like the surveillance thing, that to me is like. Some of it's just like record keeping, right?
Yeah.
Like at some point this system's going to be like huge and like it's going to be misused and people are going to be like, how the fuck did that happen?
Right.
And it'll be there. So I think that's part of it. But I do think we don't aim for impact, but I'd say that's a lot of it. I think like things that are happening now that like people will react to.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Wasn't there an astroturfing story? Whose story?
That was my story.
Yeah.
That was like how I got hired actually. Yeah.
Oh,
Did you pitch it and then get hired or?
No, I like
This is also Entergy, right?
Yeah. Them like hiring the actors to go to city council meetings. But yeah, no, that was like I was freelancing for them. And then I wrote that and that kind of blew up and then they hired me, which was great.
Nice.
Which was like
I don't know the name of the person, but Cassidy Hanahan was saying the other night that there were a couple like old, like washed up New Orleans comics that were some of the actors they hired for that Entergy
it was
thing.
like it's like the actor.
Oh, that thing. I remember this. I just forgot it was
That's
the
so funny,
AstroTurf reference.
dude. That's so good.
Yeah, it was like it got around in like the like out of work actor scene.
We need to take a pause and then go back to the astroturfing thing so I can edit this because otherwise it's just we'll suddenly be talking about megachurches for no reason.
Oh, okay. All right. So AstroTurf paid actors.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right, take two.
I like how like you put that out. Like you guys roll into topics for no reason all the time.
I know, but there are limits to the coherence.
There was also this one. You made me sound insane in the last episode because you cut out a bunch of what I said, and then I said something like, "Yeah, but like sharks don't have pussy." I was like, "What?" It wasn't that, but it was just like out of nowhere, and there was no basis for it. It was just like, and all the listeners were like, "Yeah, Mary Devin's insane." So
Yeah.
Oh, can I bring up something? Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Please go.
How do
It's about
sharks
you
fuck?
getting peed on. That story. So I just feel like I had a couple like thoughts on it. I feel like something that wasn't discussed is that like he peed on your chest, which is a huge miss. Like he didn't pee on your legs.
I will say though, it like shot on it traveled. It was a traveling pee.
Okay, so here's what I'll say. Sometimes
Also, there was a lot of
after
laughter.
Sometimes after coitus.
Oh, there's a
We
little
had
plug,
not
and it
just
comes
had
out a little
sex.
plug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But that wasn't it.
And it feels
No,
really good
we
to
had
get
not just had sex.
Well,
We
so
were
the last
very
like
drunk.
little
keep
weird
on
bit
going.
of jizz out with your piss.
Yeah.
Well, my theory is because you're saying like that wasn't his thing before. My theory is that like you turned to him and you were like, "You want to go pee with me?" And then like something just like you just lit a like long dormant kindling,
Probably.
and now he's
Yeah.
out there peeing on people.
Yeah.
which is actually a really great thing of you to do.
Yeah,
You helped
I
him
hope
find-
so. I
Waking
hope he's
someone up
having
to their kink.
I honestly hope he's having a great time.
Yeah, I wish I had some like unfound fetish.
I mean, I'm
that I
sure
know
you
about.
do.
I'm sure I do.
I mean, that's like a trope on the internet. It's just like you accidentally stumble upon something and you're like, oh no, this is my thing now.
I wish I could find a new fetish. That would be great.
I don't like have a fetish. I
They-
think
they
that's
should
not. I
have-
feel like I'm robbed. Like,
They
I
should
feel
have
it's
stumble
bullshit.
upon for porn. Did you ever have stumble upon?
Oh, yeah, I
Upon
love
Robbed,
Stumble Upon,
What
yeah.
happened to that?
That would be.
I had it like
I think
2
I
years
just made
ago.
$1
I was one of the
million.
last.
Stumble upon for porn would be.
They
Cumble
do.
upon.
It was called porn.
Cumble upon.
There was something
Come
called
on,
Porn
I got
MD,
this.
which I obviously love.
Oh yeah.
That is good.
I think
yeah.
Porn MD still exists.
Yeah, but you like put in like 3 things that you want, and it like shuffles the results, but it's always the same thing.
Yeah.
It's
Porn
like,
MD is
it's like
just married Evan
Spotify
after
radio.
another glass of Vino Verde. Or
It
at
was
that
me.
wedding.
I looked great, but also my eyes were too close together, and oh yeah, that's another thing. They curled my hair, and I had to cover up my tattoo because I have a chest tattoo.
Ooh.
I had to cover.
Fuck that.
I would never make a bridesmaid cover her tattoos, but like
It's
I'm
such
gonna
an
have it covered for my
inoffensive
wedding.
tattoo. Also,
I know it's a
Yeah.
lily sprig, and also I got this tattoo when I was on a trip with all these girls.
Yeah.
I didn't get it, but I found the lily sprig where I was like, I'm gonna get this as a tattoo, and everyone was like, I don't believe you. And a year and a half later, I ended up getting it as a tattoo because I thought about it, and one day on a somewhat impulse. That's how my tattoo impulses work. I'll think about something forever, but I
Yeah.
just don't have a plan of when to get
Totally,
it,
totally.
and then I'll go get it. But because they're always just small.
Yeah.
But anyway, like it was barely showing, and Jess was like, you have to cover it with makeup. And then I was like, I'm going to get makeup all over the dress.
Yeah.
And then even the girl who did special effects makeup was like, tattoos are really hard to cover. It would take me a full hour,
Yeah.
and that's like another girl's whole makeup or
Right,
more.
right.
Anyway, so
It'll take a whole hour.
yeah, because it's so much shit. So you have to start with like a red or blue base, depending on the. You would think it's just like a lot of cover up,
Yeah.
but actually you have to like trick the whole.
Right, it's like complementary colors shit.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
understand color and like be a professional to do makeup. Or if my tattoo were like blue, it might be a little bit better, but black is the hardest to cover up.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is very
Learning something
boring.
new.
So all my hair was to the side
Oh, smart.
like in the side braid, but she parted it in the middle, so it was just deeply unflattering because I have like a huge face, so I looked like very slutty but ugly and fat, and I was wearing this like horrible unflattering dress, and as I was walking, like all my bridesmaids pictures, I'll probably look like this because
Yeah.
I stepped on my dress as I was walking, and it was a tie dress, so I was like,
Oh no.
I'm gonna get naked in this church
Yeah.
at my friend's wedding. It was terrifying. And the priest, so they hated the priest because they had to get a new priest last minute because the old dude got a UTI and was in the hospital because old people just should be dead and they're alive too long now.
Yeah.
And so he has it. And also, usually, it's funny to me that usually if you get a UTI, it does happen more with elderly people, but usually it's men with small penises because you're supposed to have a seriously, you're supposed to have
No, it's like the little
it's a
kink
shallow urethra. That's why
under the,
women get them and men don't, because you only get it if you have a shallow urethra
It's
because
like
there's
a
more.
pasteurization thing.
Yeah,
There's more what?
because there's actually not more
tunnel.
less. Well, yeah, you need more tunnels. Good, more because like you have the same amount of germs, but if those germs get a longer space to travel, there's
Right.
less of a yeah. So
I got you.
so I basically that's why women get UTIs and men generally don't. If y'all have ever had a UTI, I'm not saying you have small dicks.
If I ever do get one, I'm not telling anyone. No.
Speaking of UTIs, y'all got a bathroom
Yes.
back there? I'm not
Okay.
gonna call
Straight
in
back.
if that's
Okay.
That's
Don't do that.
Thank you so much for listening to the pod. Also, I'm talking.
it just no, you're good. It just occurred to me the reason I
I mean,
started.
don't shut up, but stop saying that.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
And
You're
also,
on mic.
I'm gonna edit you so you sound crazy no matter what. So don't. It's just like one of the reasons why I started cracking up when you were telling that story is that it occurred to me to just remove the context so that it just sounds like you're saying sharks don't have pussies. So anyway, sharks don't have pussies.
You should do that. You should just
Wait,
splice in like, just honestly, just full stop, and then play some like weird music or some shit, and then just have like just random nonsense of being like, married Evan being like, so little dick men get UTIs and sharks don't have pussies.
Oh my god, I'm so hot. Before Michael gets back, I'm so hot because I like got back from driving to Shreveport at 6 p.m. and then I had to exercise before I came here because all I've eaten was like fried food. I got something called the Hungry Man Special at breakfast day. It was 3 plates of breakfast food and I ate the whole thing.
Christ.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
I ate the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then
Wait, what was it?
It was short stack of pancakes, sausage, scrambled eggs, and hash browns with 2 pieces of toast. So
Oh my god, hungover. That sounds like the best.
Yeah.
it was the best thing in the
Entire
world.
world,
It
yeah.
actually did fix me. Like
Yeah.
I got that. I took 2 Advils and drank a kombucha from a gas station in Shreveport had kombucha, which I was like,
What
wow,
the
we don't even have
fuck?
those in our gas station.
That's the sign of the end times.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
When Lane started drinking kombucha, I was
Tippy
like,
has a friend?
I'm gonna pee.
oh, that
Wait.
guy hates me.
Tippy hates me too. I can't believe Tippy likes you.
If you turn them on their back really quick,
Then they're
just like.
wow. Do you have cats?
Yeah, I got 1 cat, but I also like. I like.
Tippy. No, I want to hold Tippy.
Holmes was a good cat. I just moved from Mid City to Marigny. Marigny has a way better cat scene.
Oh yeah, there's so many just right
Yeah,
outside.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, this is the Bywater, right?
Yeah. Mid City, I don't know. They're terrible cat scene.
Yeah.
It's a
Gentilly's
cool cat
really
scene,
terrible cat scene.
Like where I live, that I think some people call Mid City, but it's like fairgrounds. Technically, it's Gentilly. But
I was,
don't
like,
know.
on the-
Whatever I say, people get pissed. So
Yeah, same for me. If I say I live like basically in Lakeview, but it's Gentilly, and it's at Fillmore and St. Bernard, which I had never even been to. I've lived here my whole life, and when I first went to Jeff's house, we were not dating. He had
you
a
should
Super
put your
Bowl
address
party.
on this.
Yeah, I mean, I will. I don't care. No, I won't. But that's how confident I am that no one, like, I'm not important enough to be assassinated. Well, you can't be assassinated if you're not a politician. Anyway.
No, I mean,
You can get assassinated, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
think-
if it's like political, what's the definition? I don't know. I feel like if like
I think
were,
you have
like,
to be
saying,
important.
like, if someone like killed you because like they loved the sex strike,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that might be an assassination.
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, I think like people talk about like gang beefs as assassination. So I think if there's like a vested interest in your like
Right.
murder
Yeah.
that's not like purely
Yeah.
capital, like
Yeah.
there's also just like social ramifications
Yeah, there's
to what
business.
happened.
Didn't
I don't know why I'm defining it right now.
someone told me
but
like there was
who
like a
fuck.
U-Haul like one of
I
this
would
is
love to
like
be a
If you want to go off
certainly-
about U-Haul, I will. Like after like working for the.
You work for U-Haul?
No, I had a moving company and I worked for a
Okay.
couple moving companies, so I spent like 4 or 5 years doing that shit.
Got you.
And U-Haul is it's such a fucking scam. They just rent out like death machines to people who can't drive them
Yeah.
in like at the most like horrible time in their life. Like they're moving. A lot of the time people like had like a horrible circumstance. That's
Right.
why they're moving. They got all their
Here's
shit
the
in
giant
there.
truck.
The trucks don't work. They take so much money from people for basically doing nothing.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, like the rumor I heard, and I have like, I never even Googled this. I meant to, but someone was like telling me like the founders of U-Haul had a bunch of kids, and then like they died, and like one of the brothers like killed everyone else. That like can't possibly be true, but it is like
Wait,
something
I'm
I'm
going to
choosing
Google
to
U-Haul
believe.
myth. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your Santa Claus.
Yeah, I never had Santa. You're Jewish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have Santa?
Yeah. I know,
Isn't
yes.
there like sort of a secular Santa?
Well, yeah.
Hanukkah
My
Harry.
mom, she converted, but she was like Italian Catholic, so my grandma had Santa. Santa was great. Hanukkah fucking sucked.
Yeah. I mean, I
bullshit
feel like
holiday.
unless you're like really raised in like a pretty like insular Jewish community, like Christmas and like just generally Christianity gets into your life.
Oh yeah.
How
yeah, in
does this
some
have
ways.
its own Wikipedia entry?
U-Haul lesbian.
I
Wait,
Googled-
who used the phrase?
So I Googled what,
Wait, what is it?
okay. The U-Haul lesbian or U-Haul syndrome is a stereotype of lesbian relationships referring to the joke that
Oh,
lesbians
yeah.
tend to move in together
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
second
yeah.
date.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never heard that, but I know it's a stereotype.
I've never heard that phrase. I knew that stereotype.
Can be considered either complimentary or pejorative.
That's a funny phrase.
Oh, dude, today I saw the Leidenheimer bread people using a Penske rental truck to deliver bread because apparently they got flooded.
Penske kicks
Oh,
ass because
yeah.
there's
A
no
lot of
pretense
people-
about them acting like the truck's gonna work at any point. I've been to like a couple like Penske like sites where like you rent the truck from and like you return it to, where there's just like a straight up like drop box like in the middle of a field. It's like
That's cool.
It's not even. It's Penske kicks ass. Penske's my shit. It's
Next
like
time
I didn't know anything about
I'm all
fucking
that like
again.
Penske and like Spirit Airlines and like all that. I love all that
I'll
shit.
defend Spirit. People get pissed
I'm
off the
pro
extra
Spirit.
charges, but it's like if you need to like. You can wear all of your clothes.
Right.
If you need to get someplace, like it's the cheapest way to do it.
Dude, you can pay on layaway on fucking Spirit. That is my kind of company. Hell yeah.
I've only taken the Scottish or whatever UK version of Spirit, which is Ryanair, and they wouldn't let me get on a bunch of when I went to London for LSU. A bunch of sorority girls organized the trip, and they booked this flight. I overpacked. And so on the flight back from Dublin or wherever we were back to London, I put a bunch of shoes in my pants. And it was very obvious that that's what I had done because I was like, I'm not going to get a fucking carry-on. And I was, of course, drunk at the airport. And because we were only there for, like, this was like the weekend that we had to, like, travel if we wanted to. And the sorority girls just booked everything. They were like, we have space for 30 people, so if you want to come, like, pay us. And I was like, this is great. I don't have to plan anything because I was just going to, like, stay in London. And so I did. And then I overpacked. And then the lady was like, you have to get a carry-on. And then I, like, went and very obviously put all of my shoes in my pants and, like, put 8 jackets on and was like, weigh it now. And then she weighed it again. And then I did it again. Anyway, so she was very pissed and eye-rolly at me, but I did it.
You just got to work through, like, just...
Yeah, because it was like a 1 hour flight. So I was like, if I was taking a flight that was an hour and a minute, there's no way I would be this uncomfortable.
Right.
But I just took all my belongings with me and put them in my person, not in my body. But
We got completely outsmarted by Norwegian Air.
fucking Norwegian Air.
So we flew to London, and they didn't weigh our carry-ons, but then they weighed it on the way back. Fucking sneaky
that sucks. Wait,
as hell.
That's the exact same thing that happened.
Yeah.
Well, Norwegian Air, unless I'm like, they're the ones that like they're the bare bones Europe one. They
don't feed you on transatlantic flights.
They don't feed you. They also like the only time I've taken it, they refused to bring me water. Like they didn't give me drink services, and I was like, okay, fine, like I'll take a water. And it's like I can't.
You can buy
give
one
you water.
now.
It's like you can walk back and find me after I'm done giving out drinks, and then like you can get water.
That's
I was so
bullshit.
pissed. I was like, I'm super thirsty.
That
Like,
should
I've
be.
waited until now.
Is that illegal there? How does the law work in the sky?
I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
like,
everything's legal in the
There is
sky.
no
baby.
law in the
I'm
sky.
not good at like
It's-
advocating
That's
for myself.
bad.
9/11
Mad Max
actually
up
was
there.
not a crime. It was,
Dude, but yeah,
I'm also
that
not
sucks.
good at advocating for myself.
And my family has been so dysfunctional traveling because you need an asshole, right? Like someone who's gonna like not take any shit.
Yeah.
And is gonna yell until you. But like everyone in my family is so uncomfortable with being disliked that like we just.
My
take
mom
it.
is that asshole, and that's why I don't like to be that asshole. But I'm becoming my mother more, and I think that that's good because I remember being like, I hate who she is, and I hate watching. I hate that everyone hates us, but we did need that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we have it.
Yeah, I think that there's an art to communicating to the person you're interacting with. Like, I know this isn't your fault.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Oh,
But I'm-
100%.
Oh no.
I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at
The
institutionalized
situation.
dog shit.
See, my mom is just a bitch to the person. My mom
Right.
does
You
not
you can even
care.
be like,
that's a
I'm not
generational
mad,
thing.
but I'm not going to
Well,
take shit.
My
Yeah.
tactic
Yeah.
is like I know like you are not running like American Airlines. Like
Right.
so like I could like get mad until there's a manager, but if like we could just skip that, like
Yeah.
I don't want to put you through that. Like could I just like can we skip
Right.
a couple steps? Like let me talk to someone who can do something.
Yeah.
One thing I did hate was when people would be like, in retail, when they would be like, because there was always a camera, and they would be like, look, I'm not going to like tell your boss. I know that it's not your decision to let me use the employee bathroom. But I was like, first of all, I smoked weed in there 2 seconds. Second of all. Also, I'm like, I don't want to let people use the employee bathroom, not because like when it comes to like, if you don't buy stuff here, then you can't use the bathroom. I think that's bullshit. But like retail spaces, like, no, there's no bathroom. You're not eating food here. There's a million restaurants that like don't check. Like, I don't think that every single building should have a bathroom that's accessible to the public. And even if they should, that should be like codified so that like the retail worker doesn't get in trouble, because people would always be like, hey, I know it's not you. And this is not the same as you being like, I know you don't own American Airlines, but you need to get me a water because I could die. I need water. That's not the same. But like people just refusing. Rouse's was literally across the street, and that's a public bathroom.
They have a bathroom in Rouse's?
Oh yeah, the downtown one, they have a luscious 12 stall bathroom, and I was like, why can't? And it was always these white women who were like, I have a baby, and I was like, your baby has a Mercedes, your baby has a Mercedes of strollers, and your husband is here wearing boat shoes, texting.
Jeez.
If you have a baby, you have a diaper. Don't you know?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Also, it's you have to pee. Your baby doesn't have to pee.
Yeah.
You have to pee. Go to Rouse's, bitch.
Yeah.
I'll watch the baby. How about that? I love babies. I'll watch your baby.
Although having a baby sounds horrible. I mean, I would
These are very bourgeois women having babies.
Okay.
I mean, I worked at a very fancy store that ended up closing because they sold
I have a baby
$40
for an hour
soap.
while the nanny cleans the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last night at Cosmos, I'm thinking this is free associative because Susanna immediately had baby fever as soon as she saw this. But there's a dog running, a tiny little miniature schnauzer running around Cosmos, and so I picked it up and held it.
No.
And then we had a great time, and then I put him down, and then he came back and sniffing around my feet again. So I went to pick him up. He bit the living shit.
Wait, look at Jordan's baby. She looks just like her.
Whoa, that is a intense pose.
I know. Well,
Don't do that.
This is my friend
To
and
the-
her
to the
baby.
baby.
We had lunch today, but she's a year old and she already has glasses.
That's so cute.
I know, it's so cute. She hates the glasses.
It
I'm
looks
kinda
like
scared
I'm
of
holding
kids,
Chewbacca's baby.
honestly.
Oh, you're so cute. You look so swole.
Oh, thank you.
You do look muscly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
The
When I-
dog is cuter than you, but it's a cute
No,
pose.
for sure.
When I worked at my sister's daycare that she runs out of her house, there were 2 babies with eye patches at the same time. They kicked ass. It was so cool.
I like the idea of a daycare that just harvests one eyeball from each kid.
For what?
Experiments.
You
I
could
don't
do a
know.
lot of
Ask
stuff.
Alex Jones. He would have a theory.
God, wait, I was going to say something about Shreveport again. Shreveport is camp. If something is camp, Shreveport is camp. I know
Shreveport is the Met Gala.
Shreveport is,
If the Met Gala's theme was Shreveport.
the cake. Has anyone seen? That would be amazing.
The Catholic
they would
Church
do it
thing was
so
awesome.
bad. That was good. That was the
Yeah.
only good
Yeah.
one because it's so perfect. Because it's
It is extremely.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing, but it's the liberal version of the Catholic
Yeah,
Church.
every
is the Met
basilica
Gala.
has a drag show twice a week.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love how Catholics, everyone who hates Christians, the ones that, even though the Catholics are the most egregious in terms of corruption and, the child rape, they're still people are kind of all right, well, there's art and snobs Catholicism.
Yeah.
Catholics are.
Oh, yeah, they put on a
This is my
show.
shit, dude.
Yeah, they put on a fucking show.
Well, this is my thing about people who are into architecture as an art form. Have we talked about this already on the thing? It drives me fucking crazy because it's just the vision of rich people made
Right.
made manifest. There's no struggling architect. I mean, obviously lots of architects struggle, but there's no struggling architect who's seeing out his vision and on a massive scale because
Right.
where's the money coming from? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was talking to someone. He had he was working on a different, a community-based approach to architecture. So you're building a building, and then you talk to people what do you
Right.
want to see? What do you want?
yeah, this rings a bell.
Yeah,
Keep going.
that would be cool. I don't know anything about architecture, but
Yeah, it would be great if architecture could actually be an art form because it was accessible to both people living in the buildings and the architects.
Yeah, yeah.
We should have my architect friend on to talk about this. 'Cause he talks about this all the time.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Was it a recent current affairs episode where they talked to someone about democratic architecture? This exact thing.
God, I want to smoke a
No
cigarette
idea.
so
Me
bad.
too.
Could you
Yeah,
just cut
we
out
could-
10 minutes of this and we could go smoke a cigarette?
Yeah, we could absolutely just pause it. and
Okay,
then-
let's pause it.
cool.
You want to go
Yeah,
smoke?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Sorry.
And we're back. Everybody nice and nicotined out.
That's
Yes.
You got the NPR voice down, close to the mic but quiet, with timbre in your voice.
I'm Terry Gross. I'm Elizabeth.
You look like Terry
Warren.
Gross, kind of.
I'm Elizabeth Warren. Who was it who hates her voice? You
I'm
hate
Elizabeth
her voice.
Warren. No, I don't hate her voice. I like
Okay.
Elizabeth Warren's voice.
Oh, your mom.
My mom's coming around though. She called me. Actually, this was a week ago, and then she called me today, and she's like, "Oh, I'm down."
I'm down for
And
the
she
Warren-
she hates Pete.
Buttigieg.
Yeah, butt jizz. or
I actually
whatever.
did Buttigieg.
Careful, you'll get kicked off Twitter for saying literally
Oh,
anything about his
God.
last
Oh,
name.
God.
Did you see that? People
But
get
it
kicked-
is Buttigieg. That's actually the right
Buttigieg.
word.
Yeah, no, it's boot edge. Buttigieg. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pronounced Pete.
Yeah, no. Did you see that
Dish.
people got kicked off Twitter for calling him Pete Buttchug? Yeah. The weaponization of identity politics.
Dude, I had a
not
very
butt
difficult.
juice, damn it.
Jordan, like I told you, I said in the current affairs episode, she like thinks that we need Biden because she
Right.
thinks he's the only person who will beat Trump.
Right.
And her main goal is beating Trump. And she loves Warren. But Shreveport, okay, here's the thing. Everyone's like, this person's politics suck. And I'm like, I understand that it's like, I know it's the same argument. My argument is not she's right because she's not privileged. My argument is like, she's so wrong and it's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
But like, she doesn't come upon it from malice. Like she wants Elizabeth Warren to be the president.
Lots of
that's
people
why,
think
like-
Biden rules.
But that's why
Well, she doesn't even like Biden. Like
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like that, and it pisses me off because everyone's like voting based off like electability. Like
exactly, and that's
vote
what I
for the
told her. I
fucking
was like,
person
at
you
least I was like, here,
just-
Jordan, because we were at brunch with her like small child, and who was like throwing plates of eggs on the floor, and we were talking because she does care. Like that's how we became friends at LSU. That's why we became closer than everyone. Like me and a few other girls. Is that like the people who were either people were apolitical or they were Republicans for the most part, and it was very hard to find someone who actually like gave a fuck, especially people who were from conservative families in Shreveport. And I mean, I'm from New Orleans, but like a lot of my friends were not. And so she was my person because I think I was kind of more of like a neoliberal, like Democrat person before I understood a lot of stuff. But now that we have other options and people are being pushed further to the left, I was like, just promise me that you're not going to vote in the primaries the way that you're going to vote in the general.
Right.
Just like if Joe Biden gets the nomination, that's fine. And your vote doesn't even matter that much. But like, don't talk about it because there are people like, it doesn't matter what Jordan does, probably. She's just one person. But, like, I just hate how people are already talking like that. And I'm like, we still have the primaries.
Totally. And
wait till the general to sacrifice your values.
Totally. And it's
Also here, like in Louisiana, if you are like
that should be a slogan.
at all
DNC slogan.
on the left, like the primaries are the only part of
Right.
That
the
we actually have any power in.
that matters.
Like, we're just going to vote for the Democrat or protest vote. Because her husband voted for Jill Stein, and she, like, hated it. And
My
they
mom
didn't
voted
fight.
for Jill Stein.
I voted
Good
for
for your
Jill Stein.
mom.
What's that?
I voted for Jill Stein, and you got pissed at me.
I did,
actually,
but we already talked.
But like in Louisiana,
I
like
did.
you're saying, like does it matter?
Right.
Like in the general.
That's
yeah, it's like it's
another thing.
no matter what, it's a protest vote.
But it's also
I mean, unless like there's a crazy fucking momentum swing, which is I guess possible, but like I mean, Trump's gonna take Louisiana.
Yeah, he's
like,
Jordan got pissed at me because I was like, Biden's actually not that much better than Trump in terms of like environmental stuff and what's going to happen.
The
with that.
middle road. The middle road does not include
It
Southern
does not.
Louisiana.
Exactly. And that's what I kept on trying to tell her. I was like, and then she was like,
What he
I just
means by the
cannot
middle
believe-
road is
that just another way of
nothing.
saying
we're gonna
the
just
third way?
All the coastlines
Yeah.
are gonna go further in, so everything's in the middle.
As long
No
as
one
no one
cares
loses
about us.
any money, we'll do it. And no, but like the thing that fucking sucks about the electability thing is it's like everyone acting like they're fucking smarter than everyone. It's like, oh, I know Elizabeth Warren like isn't annoying and is fine, but like other people
don't, right.
Middle America. My mom said the fucking words. I'm worried about Middle America.
Those
with
flyover
Bernie."
states.
I fucking
Yeah.
lost it.
Yeah.
And I've had to do a lot of re-education with my parents about like the South and like things outside of New York because
Right.
Gulag for parents.
people in New York have such disdain for fucking everybody else.
Right,
But
yeah.
I mean,
Thank you for saying that because I feel like I have gotten a lot of pushback from people from New York. One time, people from New York are largely awful.
Oh, 100%.
Not you.
No argument.
But like people
No
from
argument.
the South are also largely awful. But it's
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like, it's not fair to judge someone before you know
No.
them. But it's also fair to be like, people in the South largely have bad
Yeah.
politics. It's not fair that people from places that are not the South will be like, fuck the South, and then like do this like whenever, there's that group of liberals that gets excited anytime the South elects someone that hurts themselves. And they're like, oh, these poor
Yeah.
people are
Voting
hurting
against-
themselves.
Yeah.
Voting against yourself, LOL. And I'm
Fuck
just like,
you.
yeah, fuck you. Like,
This is why I love the Jay McAlevey thing.
yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, there's it's like, oh well, like you gave us David Duke, well, like you gave us fucking Wall Street, so like go fuck yourself.
Right.
And it's also, thank you.
MD is like
but it's
so
not,
close to saying yes, queen.
I can tell you
Go off,
because
King.
I grew up with it that
Yeah.
people who have that type of attitude towards the South, they might say it's because like they care about the policies, whatever. But everyone in
the
New
world
York
wants to be better.
No one in New York has any idea that there's any people of color in the South. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
no one is
Yeah.
like fuck everyone in the South. They're racist. Like meanwhile,
Right.
the Deep South has like the highest
Yeah.
proportion of people of
And
color.
specifically,
like,
mostly like in New Orleans, black people and Vietnamese people and like Latino people. That's like pretty much mostly black people. Like New Orleans is a black city, and so we can also say that.
Yeah, it's disdain. It's like it's.
And Shreveport's a black city. Shreveport has as many,
and it's also projection.
Yeah,
like they don't have to deal with it if they project it.
And I was like, Jordan, have you ever considered that maybe what we need to do? And I admitted that I'm not going to do the work to do this. I was like, maybe what we need to do is just get the millions of people that aren't voting to vote by having candidates that they like.
Right.
And then she was like, that's a really good point. And it's not her fault that she's never heard that because because she actually does care about politics and reads shit, but everything is so programmed. For the reason that she thinks that is because the liberal media that she reads is telling her that no one's going to win unless they're, and she likes Pete too.
I think the one policy position that will actually get a candidate assassinated is that they want to make Election Day a national holiday.
Yeah.
That is the number one.
People want.
You know what I mean?
Although
I've heard Republicans rejoicing that it was raining on election day.
Right,
I've heard it in person.
But New Orleans elections, like, give it credit. Like, I've never fucking waited to vote here.
Me either, but that's also because not enough people vote.
Well, that's true. That's true. But there's that.
And there's fewer people who are voting. And I mean, I agree. I mean, that is good. I don't think that there's like... Actually, wait. I used to cover Election Day for NOLA Defender, and the 2012 elections... There were lines in New Orleans.
Really?
East. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another thing about like the North. So before I was at the Lens, I freelanced for a while, and so like I was trying to sell stories from here to like national publications, and there was just like the like narrative that you needed to tell, or like there was like a narrative that everyone had about the South that you needed to include.
It had to be like hillbilly elegy.
Totally, but there's also other stories where it's like. Unless it is like off the fucking rails. If I was like, oh, we have this like certain problem in our jails, it would be like, well, no shit, it's the Deep South. Like, what's new? Like, what's interesting? You know what I mean? Like, it has to be something so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and like things happen
like
here.
Did you read about the piss and shit buckets in Alabama?
In like normalizing all of that.
Totally. And it's
by saying like, oh yeah, it's not worth covering because of course, and it's like. Well, maybe people wouldn't think of course if you fucking covered it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's not. It doesn't have to be of course. If this shit happened in New York or California or fucking wherever, everyone would be on top of it. But like I have to give you some other angle for why this like incarceration problem is bad. Like even worse.
I mean, that's a hell of a lead-in about that like specific story about the cops here using the crime cameras to like zoom in on someone. And put them in jail.
Yeah.
Basically, anyone who has a record, you can just film them and be like, I think he was going to sell drugs.
Probation violation of, like, being arrested and then acquitted.
Talking about Clint Carter?
Yes.
Yeah.
That, like, infuriated me. So can you just go over that story a little bit?
Yeah. So it's been a while since I had, like, dealt with this. But it was this guy, Clint Carter. He was on probation at the time. He was hanging out outside of this house, and they were, like, sure that he was dealing drugs. And we got through the public defender's office, we got like the video surveillance that they kind of used to track all of this, and like you can tell someone's operating behind it, right? It's not just like a still thing. Someone is like zooming in, zooming out, right? Yeah, they're watching.
Yeah.
And basically like he went into an alley and out, and like apparently that was enough to like be like, okay, then maybe they're drug dealing. So they roll up, arrest everybody. No one had any drugs. Did not find. They went into the alley. They searched like a random lady's house across the street. They searched fucking everywhere. If there had been drugs around, like they would have found him. But no drugs. But Clint Carter did have brass knuckles on him, and so that's what he got booked on. And then they brought him to the hospital because actually. What he told me is that when he was there, he was actually waiting to arrive to the hospital because he has diabetes. And
God, yeah. And then
so they brought him to the hospital.
And they didn't treat him when they did arrest him, right?
Well, no. They brought him to the hospital, had him shackled to the bed while he was being treated. But he was there, and then they charged him with like trying to assault an officer, although he was shackled to the bed, and the officer was like standing away. Really wild. Anyway, so
there's a bunch of clear lies outlined in the article.
Right. So then so a new arrest is a violation of his
parole.
Was it parole?
Yes, it was parole, and this fucking blows my mind, and I didn't know it, and I'm ashamed that I didn't know it. Apparently, the terms of your parole can be. You can't even get arrested even if you are declared not guilty.
That's insane. I know, it's horrible.
Insane given like the way people get arrested in this fucking city.
Right.
Especially if it is like clearly like an illegal, like, Fourth Amendment violation.
Right.
Like, textbook fucking Fourth Amendment violation, right?
I wouldn't say textbook.
Well, so this is something I want to talk about.
We can get to the Fourth Amendment, but anyway, what happened to Clint?
Also, fuck the Constitution. I'm just going to say that every time.
Right,
it comes up.
That's also part of my
when we're
take.
working within that framework, it's not.
We're not like using
valuable.
that as like an ethical framework, but like we do have.
We have to operate it.
So Clint ended up. They dropped all the charges because they were nonsense. Also, I think like the public defenders brought like a Fourth Amendment claim, and I don't know if like the DA wanted to, see that go through. So they dropped all the charges, but his parole had been revoked. So he is now in jail right now for an extra 3 years for doing nothing, not charged with anything. All charges dropped, not convicted for anything, but he is doing another 3 years in jail.
And he's got 3 kids.
Yeah. So that was like
not that people without kids,
right? Exactly. I was about to say,
but it does like affect fucking like children's lives,
totally.
Like,
and when you talk about like because we have a city that is like that the mayor, the city council, it's outwardly like criminal justice reform, like like that is what they outwardly expect, and they do certain good things.
And this should affect schools too.
Right.
I mean, it's like third way Clintonism if you don't have any money.
Is what this is. Well, I think and I think the point of that article is like, yes, there are like down the road implications of the surveillance system being built, but like you don't have to look to some like dystopian future.
You can just look to what's already happening.
Right. And so like you're putting up like like what if some like authoritarian like thing got in control of this surveillance?
It's already there.
Like there's like we are under consent decree like for having like a racially biased police force. Like,
and then
like
this happened.
And Fourth Amendment violation.
When was the consent decree?
And isn't it like 1 out of 5 like arrests are like that? You outlined this in one of your articles, but it was like 1 out of 5 arrests that people like went over had some violation of the consent decree in them.
Yeah, it was fuck, what was that? It was like if you could I think it was something like it was like one of these like updates from the consent decree. It's like, how are you doing on each point? And like the Fourth Amendment violation and the stops and searches was one point where the consent monitor was like, you're not doing this well enough. So
the language is like, it's still a concern.
It's still a concern, which is like the strongest you'll really get. But I mean, I don't know if y'all read the other one I wrote on surveillance about the software.
The software is insane. It recognizes.
I do not get news cycles. I thought that was gonna like.
I thought so. I had heard. Okay, so I had heard that there was facial recognition software like everywhere, and then I like read the article that you wrote, and it was like, okay, so they promise they're not using facial recognition software, but they are using identifying software that's used to identify who the person is, which is the exact same thing.
It's like it's only because they can't afford it, first of all,
right?
And second of all, like it's kind of like the NSA Prism thing, where it's like metadata versus recording your calls. It's just as effective as
exactly right. It's just as egregious in terms of harm.
Right.
Yeah.
So for anyone who hasn't read the article, like one of the software that we do, there's like I can fucking talk about this forever.
It's an Israeli company.
What's the article called?
It's called which sounds like a gay cam site for sure. Brief cam, come on.
But we should be saying what the headlines of these articles are. This one, right?
We'll link to them.
Okay, we'll link to them in the description. Okay,
or just like go to the link. We have like a tab on the top of the website that's like city surveillance, so you can go check it out. So I don't even know where to fucking start. I mean, so like the big point is like brief cam is this software. So let me start here. The people say like there's no camera that you need for facial recognition or for any of these things, right? Mm-hmm. Like these are back end things. You don't need to install.
It's all algorithm,
right?
Yeah.
So like there's two separate issues: the rapid expansion of the number of cameras, and then like what the footage, like what the NOPD can do with that footage on the back end. And you don't have to do anything to the cameras to get that shit on the back end. So that's
on the back end, or if they're currently using it and monitoring it and zooming in on people.
Totally. Right. So brief cam is this like super. I don't know, pretty insane piece of software, but you can basically like put in like, okay, show me everyone who has blue jeans and a red backpack in the city for this amount of time. And it can like in a couple of minutes pull all of that up. And there might be some mistakes, but you can sift through it. Same thing for like license plates and things like that. And so basically, like, if you find one person with a red backpack and blue jeans, you can watch them throughout their day, right? You can piece that together with the amount of cameras that we have right now and figure out exactly what they're doing. So that's and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they can do that.
Yeah.
There's nothing saying that they can't.
Legally,
and that brings me to another point, which is that the policies around these, there's a number of policies that the Office of Homeland Security, which runs the Real-Time Crime Monitoring Center, which is where all this shit goes into, there's a list of policies that they have. But it's like an internal document. So number one, they can change that and no one would know, right? Like it's not like
there's no oversight.
Right,
Totally
they wouldn't tell us if they, because on that is like we don't use facial recognition. But tomorrow they could say we do use facial recognition, and like I could put in a public records request and find out, but like no one's
that's a process,
right?
too, yeah.
No one's keyed up to that. The other thing is like it's not law, and so the question of how legally binding this shit is, like there's no independent oversight. There's no like necessary like if someone does misuse this shit, because like remember also, and I hate to even like, but this might be more important to people than like the criminal justice aspect. There have been people with these systems that have been caught just like watching their ex-girlfriends and shit.
Yeah.
So like, let's not forget about that.
These cameras are a very dystopian thing, even if they weren't like using something that was akin to facial recognition.
Right. So this is something I want to. No, you're good. Something that I wanted to ask you about is like. So it seems like Fourth Amendment precedent is that if the cameras are doing something that a human being could do, then it's fine.
Yeah.
So and this kind of jives with the whole podcast. I think uniform opinion that fuck the Constitution if it results in bad policy. But like there's something very specific about the instant accessibility and like indexing of the information.
Right.
Like it's like if 1,000 cops just like were walking around looking at shit but they also were doing like a mind melt.
And they had perfect memories
Exactly.
and could recall them at any time. Yeah.
Exactly.
So the Fourth Amendment
And
piece of this,
supervision and shit.
Yeah, exactly. You can zoom in from like anyone who hasn't seen like the Clint Carter piece, we linked to the video on that, and it's if you want
the video's
idea
crazy
of like how well they can zoom. I mean, they're like 3 blocks away zooming in on this porch, and you can
3
see
football fields, right?
Yeah, it was like right. It was like 560 feet, something like that.
Something
2 football fields.
Yeah,
it was.
it
was bigger than a football field.
And, like, figured it out. Let's see.
At least 1.5 football fields.
All right, I doubled it.
Well, you know, still
But
pretty
still-
far.
It doesn't matter. It's a football field.
Fucking insane.
Well, yeah.
you
And
could read a
so-
license plate from that distance with those cameras,
Right,
for sure.
So the Fourth Amendment piece, and I'm not a lawyer, but from the people I've talked to and what I've read, there was a 1967 case that brought in this phrase. It's a reasonable expectation of privacy, and you know, Supreme Court precedent says that like privacy is not just your home. You have an expectation of privacy in public. Now, the tricky fucking thing about that, I don't need to curse in this situation. I'm sorry. The tricky thing about that, the tricky thing about
I
that.
talk about putting my own dick in my ass on the podcast.
The tricky thing about that. Okay.
So the tricky thing about that is like, what is reasonable and how do we judge that?
Right.
And it's pretty much an impossible task. But one fucking like starting point is to be completely transparent about what your surveillance is as a city, right? Because people are going to have to judge what they find is reasonable. That is the constitutional measure.
Right.
And if people don't fucking know and you're not like bringing this up, then I don't have a chance to say whether this is reasonable or not. And so, you know, like with this software like that, I don't know. Until we wrote it, I don't think it was very publicized. I don't think people really knew about it. You know, so, and then I think there's another point where people think that like once this is up, like, oh, well, it's over. They know everything. Like, I think that's a common thing in surveillance, especially like online surveillance. It's like, oh, well,
Everyone's
everyone's
just giving up.
yeah, like they know everything about me anyway. Like that is
Right.
You can curb this. You
Right.
really, really can. One more thing about surveillance that I want to bring up is the fact that like, so we have this thing called, we have this suite of surveillance software from Motorola, and one of them is called Command Central Predictive. And you remember with the pouncer
Right,
shit.
that-
Dude, okay, so this
Yes.
is before you continue.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is something that I pulled a quote about because it was such a fucking good quote, which is basically that it doesn't predict crime. Like basically,
predicts policing.
It
It
predicts policing.
Yeah, that was insane.
Right. And so, and by the way, there's another surveillance piece. They're working on another predictive policing tool
Awesome,
behind
great.
the scenes.
Yeah,
But
no way that's gonna be racist.
So the predicting policing piece of this software, they say they don't use, and so I mean, that was confusing because I was like talking. I'm like, I see you bought it,
right? So you don't use it.
So like, you don't use it. He's like, well,
I feel like you should be held accountable for anything that you buy.
Right.
It's like, I don't use my gun.
I use Microsoft Word, but I don't use PowerPoint that much.
Right.
So, yeah.
So he's like, it's like Microsoft Office. Like, I don't use Excel. Like, so like whatever. You buy the suite. So
it's like Austin Powers getting caught with a dick pump. Just
it's almost exactly like that.
You're right.
But I think the important takeaway from that is that like the direction of surveillance, even if you like fully trusted the NOPD in the city, it's not going to be defined by us. It's going to be defined by companies making this software and what they want to sell to people. And the scary thing about that is that like as dystopian as you think the US might be, like we are not on the vanguard of surveillance, right? There are like we are not the prime buyer for this software. So people are developing this software for, governments that are even more intrusive than ours. Like, I don't know if you've read like things going on in China, it's getting pretty insane, but this software is not like these companies are going to decide the direction that this goes. And we're going to buy a suite that comes with some shit and we're going to have to decide whether we use it or not. So I think that's another thing to pay attention to, that like, even if you believe that the intentions of the city are good, the capabilities that we're going to build are going to be defined by completely other people.
And then
wait, which character was it? Was he the CEO of BriefCam whose last name was actually Bourgeois?
Wait, really?
There's a lot of bourgeois.
I don't remember. My memory.
It was
sucks.
Ross Bourgeois, but there's a lot.
No. He's the Homeland Security.
Oh, okay.
He's a city employee.
But also Bourgeois is a common last name.
Yeah, and everyone with that last name.
That's not true.
Happens to go into a completely cartoonish position where they represent.
That's absolutely not true. There's
of course
so
it's
many,
not. I fucking know, but it is like insane that like you're like
It's
combing
just
through
a
the
dumb
story and you see that.
Quick note on names on Sewage and Water
brilliant
Board. There's a spokesperson.
No, it's stupid. There's so many bourgeois. Anyway, keep going.
No, but there's a spokesperson on Sewage and Water Board that's named Paul Rainey, and the old interim director was named what was it? Something Rainwater. Anyway, we've had those two names involved in the Sewage and Water Board, and I didn't think that got enough attention, so I'll bring it up now. But yeah, we're talking about surveillance. Yeah, I mean, another thing about facial recognition, there's a lot of focus on like whether cities outlaw facial recognition or allow it. But like we said in the beginning, if you can identify everything else on a person, their license plate, it's the same. And so there are cities working really hard to like ban facial recognition, but it's important to remember that they don't need that to know like what you're doing and where you are. And, that's something to think about. And like, I won't speak to the future, but like, it's not like tyranny is over and we're just going to progress and things are going to get better and better. You need to like plan with some
be
more
vigilant.
Checks.
Yeah.
And some policies that are like legally enforceable and public all the time, which we don't have. And that should be, I think like, even if you think, and there are people I know that want the surveillance for reasonable reasons that I can't deny because I can't speak to that experience. Like people who are afraid of being raped. I can't.
And not have, and like being able to be like, oh, now I have proof because cops won't believe me if it doesn't happen.
Exactly. So I can't speak to that.
Right.
But,
I mean, I can speak to that.
Sure.
And I have not been raped on the street, but like I can speak to that and say that there are more like the threat of surveillance is more immediate, like the threat of what's already we were seeing with Clint Carter, right? Mm-hmm. That like we're already seeing that people are being wrongfully imprisoned in a way like who probably being wrongfully imprisoned because people want to make these arrests, people want to find these things. The surveillance state is still going to operate in the way where you're going to arrest people that are politically, even though it seems stupid to say political when it comes to like the police, like politically palatable to arrest. And like, there's going to be a reason that you're not going to be able to look at the footage to arrest rapists for people, especially if the woman claiming that she was raped is all of the things that are causing Clint Carter to be in prison right now when he shouldn't have been in prison because all he did was go outside of his house. And if you're arrested, even if you didn't actually do anything wrong, and if it's overturned, if you violate your parole, you still go to jail. It will be used to enforce a carceral state. It will not be used to help women. And so...
Yeah, or it could be used by like the defendant to be like, look, like we were flirting outside this bar, right? Like
exactly.
the same thing.
Oh, I
like,
pulled her
stop
because
people
also
from being prosecuted now will still exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if the camera actually catches someone raping someone, then they would probably go to jail. But also, someone who rapes someone doesn't do enough time. A lot of men have been proven to have raped people and done like no time in jail.
Well, you don't want to ruin his life.
Exactly. No, I'm serious. Like rapists, it's
so much potential.
There's so much. And also, even if a rapist does go to jail, he's going to get out and still be a person who raped someone who's now been to jail, which is not a great environment for someone who is like insane or like.
Are you saying that our carceral state doesn't rehabilitate its prisoners?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, like, I think that even though I understand what you're saying, like, you can't speak to that as someone who is afraid of getting raped all the time. And like, when I walk around at night, I'm just like, how dare I walk around at night? There are rapists everywhere. Like, also, I do feel like most women are actually raped by people in like settings that are not on the street walking around. But that does still happen. Like, it's not, I mean, that has happened recently in New Orleans. Like, people are still raped on the street.
And
it's
also,
horrible.
is there like the data on whether there's a deterrence effect?
No, of
on
course
the shit
not.
is like, yeah. I mean, like, all from
Even
a
if
reporter
there
standpoint,
was-
it's unclear. But like, it's not. Yeah.
Even if there was, I feel like if you're pushing people into homes, to do things that would usually be done quickly on the street, then you're just like making people more vulnerable.
Yep.
You're definitely making people more vulnerable, especially people who are like doing things where the anonymity of being on the street, like sex workers, maybe the anonymity of being in certain areas outside was better. And like now that you have to go into people's homes, that's way more vulnerable.
Right. And I want to, for people who might not be following the surveillance story, you see the cameras that have the lights on them, but to really expand the system, what they've done is what New Orleans tends to do, which is like privatize it. So they have this program called SafeCam Platinum where you can use your private security cameras on your home and link that to the city system. And you know, those you don't see. So those are going to have no deterrence effect, right? You're going to have no idea where they are. So that's really just to catch people, which, you know, whatever. Sorry, you had a thing?
Oh no, it's just the network of narcs I think is extremely funny.
Yeah, I mean, but again, like, you do talk to people, and this has been like a tough thing, but like, you talk to people who have lived in, you know, Central City for their whole lives, and they're like, listen, I've lost friends, like, people have been killed outside my house, like, I am fucking done with it. And like, if this is what it takes, this is what it takes. And like,
But it won't do what they think it's going to do.
I don't, well, you know.
Or
I
it'll
don't-
just happen in another neighborhood.
Right, or you're just moving it someplace else. But,
I mean, all it's going to do is just reinforce the current power structure. The people that are already creating the circumstances that like result in all of the crimes that people don't like are just going to be more powerful.
Well, and it adds an additional layer of discretion, right? We talked in previous episodes about like the way the more discretion an institution has, the more racist, the more like the inherent racism of the structure can manifest itself. And like the fact that there's a guy dialing in the Zoom on the Carter case, or is that his name? What's his name?
Clint Carter.
So you don't have to be someone who's like weird. So no one knows that they're being watched.
Right. No, nobody's gonna catch like there's no like independent camera operator who's gonna catch the lady from Weeds or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to catch the lady from Weeds.
Because they're not going to zoom in. Exactly. That level of... Yeah, I was just listening to this thing about like inherent biases and how it doesn't matter how many policies you have in place. Like, you're going to choose to zoom. You're not going to choose to zoom in. And what's her name? Mary
Well,
Louise
that's
Parker.
why, like, the ultimate goal in all these things is, like, defeating white supremacy, right? Like, it's like, if you defeat one symptom of white supremacy, it's going to be replaced by another, right? And so, yeah, like, this isn't gonna fix it. It's also, like, the disheartening... I mean,
you just have to kill all of the cops.
Yeah. Cosign.
No, sorry.
I just want everyone to know that we record this at Mary Devin's house. So,
do you think there's like people monitoring you at this point?
not yet.
Yeah.
But you know, certainly there's somebody in New Orleans, USA, who's a cop.
But the other thing about this is,
no, there's not.
you don't think? Maybe?
I think probably.
Like someone who's like
Statistically?
lower-key?
No, there was a big scandal about someone
in
DSA
Austin,
being,
there was like,
No,
some
did
of that was
people-
part of a police union. There was a whole to do, but I'm pretty sure.
But wasn't it because he wasn't like
Spoken
upfront
like a
about
cop.
being a former cop?
I think so. He was like, I was part of a union.
Oh, but he
and
was.
then
He didn't say it was a cop union.
God, that's even worse.
But
dude.
would he?
The
Would
cop
if someone
union.
was a former cop that was like, the cops are bad, I don't want to be a cop anymore, would they be allowed to be in DSA?
I mean, I can't speak to that. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, sure.
Finally, Benjamin has something that he doesn't want to say on the podcast.
We were talking.
no, I mean, I don't know.
We were talking about we were talking about TFA. I mean, this is not super analogous, but we were talking about people in TFA being
You should
like,
also kill all Teach for America teachers.
No, you should not. And like, you should kill all of Michael's ex-girlfriends. Every one of his ex. No, like.
Hear that, Suze? I'm on your side.
No, I'm talking about. Oh yeah. No, I'm talking about his ex-girlfriends.
Oh, she wasn't TFA.
Okay.
I did. Have
Oh no,
some
your
friends.
ex-girlfriend. I mean, your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Was TFA. Yeah.
Well,
you
she's-
just told everyone to kill Itzy.
I just hate
motherfucker.
TFA, but
But no,
it's
I
all
mean,
the same now.
TFA as an institution is dog shit. That's the whole point of
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Is like,
I just
there are plenty of
personally
TFA
knew so
people.
many TFA teachers that I was like, oh, you fucking suck.
There's no doubt that there are a lot of
Yeah.
cops who went in. I mean, Benjamin's not going to like this, but who went into it and they were like, I'm going to be a cop. I'm going to do good. And then they're like, oh, this is the worst. I'm leaving. I'm
Right.
joining DSA. Like, I think that's probably fine. I don't think that the undercover agents infiltrating DSA were like fucking Toledo cops. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, that specific situation, I think the person was very dishonest about it. There was like a whole thing on Twitter. I know nothing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I know no thing.
Yeah. Not only do I not know anything because I don't read anything, but I also didn't follow that, and yet I'm still commenting on it. Yeah.
No, I mean, all I said was kill all cops, and then I just went on my hyperbolic, like I just followed.
What's your address that we record the podcast at? I don't want to get Jake Flores. Is all I'm saying. You know.
Wait, I'm trying to think of someome's address I don't like. What's TNM's address?
Sidney Torres. Is
What's
new
Rosenberg's address? 1825 Tulane.
When I had the moving company, Cool Reliable Dudes, straight up stole this from Blues Brothers, but because in Blues Brothers they put their address as Wrigley Field to like
That's fine.
throw the cops off, and we just put it as the Superdome because like you don't need you just don't need an address really. So you're like,
extremely
why not?
And they saw you, and they were like, maybe they live outside of the Superdome.
What's the address? Our truck. Wherever.
I mean, yeah, we're gonna show up to your house. Don't worry about
Don't
where
worry
we're
about
at.
it.
Don't fucking worry about it.
I hate having to put my address on things when it's not like a billing
Yeah,
related question. I'm just like,
seriously.
why do you want to know?
I've been like not putting shit down on forms, and then like I like
Seeing
my
what
dentist,
happens,
right?
yeah.
Like, and then they're like, "Why didn't you put this down?" I was like, "Why do you need to know?"
Why do you need my fucking data?
I'm like, yeah, I'm super
Dental
paranoid at
hygienist.
this point. Like, reporting on surveillance does not do good things for
Yeah.
your paranoia.
If you want to know where like if you sign up for stuff and you want to know if they sell your email address to someone else, you could just put like a little, I think it's like your address and then a hashtag that, so like if you like go to like Bonobos to buy pants or whatever and you have to use your
Every
email
day.
address. So it'll be like Michael Isaac Stein hash, and then you could just like do a hash symbol and then Bonobos, and then everyone that they sold the address to will email you at that address. Specifically, because anything that you put after a hashtag will still come to the. Yeah,
Huh.
I think it's I'm gonna look it up.
Huh.
That might all be false.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the surveillance system, it's not going to be rolled back. They've invested too much money at this point. And there's also like, there's too many arguments for keeping it like when we flood, like you can use that to like know what intersections should.
And I would argue that like when it's flooding, they could turn it on or something. Like I know that if we had the cameras, they would just still use them.
Right.
But like,
It's just hard when you like.
But if you weren't able to use them to prove crimes,
Right.
it would be helpful.
Yeah, totally. But like if you're like the mayor, right, and you get I think even if you wanted to, I think it would be hard to be like, okay, we
It's
poured
not
like,
politically palatable.
well, it's
Yeah.
not politically palatable, and it's also like we poured $20 million or whatever into this, right? Like, and we can use it for certain things, and like, do I really want to like burn all that?
Right.
I'm not saying that's like right or I'm just saying like that's the thing.
But there's still hope, which is like if we were able to have a better, like, I do think that even if the infrastructure is in place where we're going to have a surveillance state, and like I understand that like that's something we should fight against, but even if you're like, okay, that's not going to go away immediately, I think that we should just start to look to like at least regulating it better so that people would have to prove.
I mean, the answer with this, like, it has to be, there needs to be like transparency and democratic control of it. There can't be
Right.
There can't be private corporations that are completely unaccountable to this, and there can't be like just government that's unaccountable to
Right.
this.
Well,
Like it has to be everyone has a say in it. Like you need to democratize information.
The surveillance state. Yeah, but information in general.
We got to use the information from the surveillance state to centrally plan an economy. So it's like you're like there's somebody monitoring the video and they're like, oh, Theodore needs a new hat. You know what I'm saying?
But at least if we're,
I mean, that's kind of how Amazon works, like for profit.
Yeah.
So no, but
Theodore needs a new hat. Yeah. Anyway, you
No,
have
it's
been
just
trying
like
to get
one
a word
like
in it.
initial easy thing that like could be doable. It's like a legally binding set of policies that rule this shit, which does not exist right now, or at least like not legally binding to the extent that you would want. So like the fact that this exists, like whether that can be dismantled is one thing, but whether we can have like a public set of rules about it. And there are cities that are doing this actively about like, you know, you can't use it for X. You can't like, you know, do what they did to Clint Carter and use it for like active sting operations, right? Like you can do certain things and set that in law, and that's like not anything that we have.
I think it would be progress to just say, hey, if someone's not committing a violent crime, you cannot use surveillance footage. Like if it's not a crime that like if no one was a victim of a violent crime, then you shouldn't be able to use surveillance.
bunch for
if the
illegal
thing that you
dumping.
charge someone for is not the thing that you had probable cause for, you should have to throw it out.
Exactly. That seems intuitive, but
Well, you know, we just put a bunch of them up for like illegal dumping. Like that was part of like the Clean Up NOLA initiative. They like bought a bunch of crime like $100,000 on, or like 80,000 of the $1 million of that program was for crime cameras to catch illegal dumping. Yeah.
Do you guys want to have a drink after this? No pressure.
Yeah, no, I'm down.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I wonder if any
MD
of
might have
that
to get up early, but
surveillance talk was like intelligible.
I think so. I think it was probably more intelligible than the other story, just because the other story has so many fucking moving parts.
Yeah, that one I just touched on like random details.
When you were talking about like the lens being like, we don't really prize narrative, it's just the facts, and then other people can refer to them. Like because the surveillance stuff has a very clear and coherent narrative, but it's just so. I mean, this is how they fucking get away with the corruption shit in the first place. Is it's so fucking arcane.
It's so like nebulous and hard to grab onto.
Yeah.
And then like even if you can, like who is gonna like it's like I don't blame anyone for not reading my shit. Like there's so much going on in this city,
right?
And then like in the world, like how could you? I will make a pitch for like reading local stuff over national stuff, which is that like you are entitled to go scream at your city council person.
Right.
Like you can do that. You can't go scream at like, you know, Stephen Miller or whoever,
right.
But you can go down to city council if something going wrong. And also there are a few things that I write about that 50 people going to city council couldn't dramatically change.
Right.
Like this shit is like, also call your city council people. Like that is a huge thing that I think like young people on the left are not aware is a very powerful thing.
If anyone wants guidance in this, in New Orleans specifically, go to a DSA meeting and ask about the Municipal Action Committee, because there's a specific committee designed about like being very good and like targeted at being at the right meetings and yelling at the right people.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
There are experienced people.
It makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. Like if you like, there's some stuff that just sneaks through the city council, and like if just a few people called them out for it, it would stop. Like it's just a lot of this shit happens by osmosis. So
people who only read the New York Times are the people who only vote in the presidential election. It's like it's just like this overemphasis of the federal and the executive over.
Yeah, dude. Parks millage. Fuck the president. You know. That's what I say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what the people want to be part of a world narrative, because I think they're on a certain level afraid to like engage with the actual power that they might have, and it feels more comfortable to be powerless but part of a huge story,
right?
Where like there's sides and you can see who wins based on these like regimented like ways that we measure who's winning and who's not winning, and then it gets sort of scary to people personally to like step up in a way that is tangible, because then you understand your own responsibility and like you understand the effect you do actually have, which is something I think is scary to a lot of people, but like I think once you make that leap to whatever degree you do, you're gonna feel better about it.
It is a little scary, but it also like there is, as horrible as the world is, there's some like really. I get optimism from like what happens in city council sometimes, and there have been some as horrible as everything is, there have been some really cool things to happen in city council. I think like you look at what like since 2016, what's happened to short-term rentals since then. Like people showed the fuck up and like turned it straight around, and like that's a doable thing. I don't know.
Well, so if I'm going to get this edited for tomorrow, we should probably stop at the 2-hour mark. We all agreed to get a drink while you were over there. Do you want to come out and get a drink after?
Okay. Also, I took PTO for tomorrow because I lied to and told her that I was going to be in Shreveport till Monday. So I'm frisky.
Weren't you just saying she's going to start listening to the podcast?
She's quitting.
Oh, perfect.
Well, now you can't put that. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
She's quitting? Can I keep the part where you lied to her?
Yeah.
Okay.
But can you just beep out her name?
Yeah, no one uses context clues anymore.
Oh, can I?
No one from school listens to this.
Can I plug something?
Fuck yeah!
Plug away.
That is the last thing we do. Come on.
A friend of mine, I'm helping her with this magazine she's starting. Give me a second to explain it because it sounds corny.
Take your time.
It's called Double Blind. It's about like psychedelics, but it's like the idea is to introduce some like, as psychedelics become more and more like mainstream and like get put into our medical system, like it's
way
like,
to go Denver, dude.
Yeah, fuck yeah, brother. But no, it's like let's not have every article be like psychedelics are going to solve everything, or like psychedelics suck. Yeah. Like it's like something like one example, and you don't have to include this in the pod, but like one example is like a first issue article is like, all of our tests around psychedelics about mushrooms, they're like psilocybin capsules.
Right.
But like that's not all the shit that's in a mushroom. So it's like, is that going to tell us what the effects are? So it's like things like that are a little more nuanced than like fuck yeah or like fuck no.
Right.
Anyway, it's called Double Blind. It's launching soon. Shelby Hartman is the editor-in-chief, and she's a lovely, lovely person, and you should support that magazine.
Excellent. Do you want to plug anything of your own?
That's fucking awesome.
You selfless.
I just, at michaelisaac.stein.com or .com.
Twitter.com.
Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, that's like where I get my self-worth from. So I'd appreciate it.
All right. Follow Michael on Twitter.
I do follow you on Twitter, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I do. All right.
I said I was going to remember to do it, and I'm actually doing it.
Love you, Kate.
I love you, Kate.
I love you, Kate Root. Love you, Kate Root.
All right. Everybody else is fine. All right. Bye.